This is 365 Sports.
LJ Martin, pinball wizard, touchdown BYU. Every play on that drive for LJ Martin.
Our coverage of Big 12 Media Days is presented by Allen Samuels House of Travel.
Sawyer Robertson has had plenty of time to throw. They bring 5. He gets it out quickly. Cameron with a cut and a first down and more. Josh Cameron is gone for a touchdown.
Big 12 Media Day is also sponsored by Camille Johnson Realtors, Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness, GXG Elite, Baylor Scott & White Southwest Sports Medicine, North Star Funding Partners, Don's Humidor, Baylor Alumni Fan Engagement. Now here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
Well, good afternoon. We are at the co-pilot Big 12 Media Days inside the Star, Frisco Cowboys headquarters. Media Days that started bright and early this morning when they opened the doors up, the media, and we have been going full throttle. Right now there's a big discussion on the stage about NIL and how everyone tackles that if they know. We have 6 of the 8 football coaches, 7. We'll have 7 of the 8 football coaches from the Big 12 who appeared today. We do not, and we did not get time with Iowa State's Matt Campbell. So Paul Catalina, Craig Smoak, Garrett Ross running the mothership, Emery Winter, Andrew Valade, Brandon Rowe, and others are here, including our owners from Rogue Media Network also with us today. And this is a perfect location. We've been here before. This is where they need to do it every year.
Yeah, this is, I say every year. I wouldn't mind the Vegas thing every now and again, or throwing in a wild card, giving us a new space. But this is much better than AT&T Stadium. It's smaller, obviously, but this is the perfect setting for it. It is absolutely the perfect setting for it. It's back here because of us. We've said it a million times, and you're welcome, everyone else.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean,
I had no idea.
I don't know how much congratulations or thanks we would get. I don't know how everybody feels, but everybody seems to be in a good mood. I'm sure there's some that would prefer Vegas just for reasons outside of covering something for a job. But, I think everybody seems to be in a pretty good mood. And this is a smaller AT&T Stadium in some ways, right? So it's got the part of the field that you need to conduct an event like this, but not all the excess room of a giant dome. So, this is a little bit more comfy and a little bit more of a better fit for an event like this. And, big turnout, a lot of people here, and it's been a very long day already because we've just kind of been going and going and going and going, but it's been very productive as everybody will hear over the next 3 hours.
We had a Big 12 Media Days, I want to say 4 or 5 years ago, where the 3 of us, just based on the flow of it, for one of the days, just sat here and waited. There's no coaches, no players down here. There was no one we could interview for whatever reason that day. And it was, we were kind of like, are we done with this event? Like,
was that the year of COVID?
No, it was
summer of COVID.
No, I think
they didn't have media days.
No,
for
they
COVID.
didn't have it might have been the year before or something like that. But we sat here all day doing nothing, and it was like, has this event maybe like run its course? And I will tell you, it certainly hasn't. We got here. It was a little bit long to get the credentials, so that slowed us down a little bit. And then once we got plugged in, ran a test, Kenny Dillingham sit down, and we've had maybe 30 total minutes of not interviewing, like consecutively, like
no time for power naps or anything.
No.
This has been Kenny Dillingham, Scott Frost, Chris Klieman, Kalani Sitake, Dave Aranda, Joey McGuire will be a part of the show today. Rich Clark, College Football Playoff Executive Director, ESPN's Brock Osweiler, and Baylor quarterback Sawyer Robertson will all be a part of it. Plus, we'll at the end have Paul's Top 5, and Andrew has been putting up polls, and those will go up again throughout the show today. So, Brett Yormark, the media, he had a speaking. He went on about 11 o'clock this morning, and he was asked again about the Big 12 and making sure, and is it true that the SEC and Big 10, no matter what you hear, do they understand that it's not best for them, no matter if they're the 800-pound gorillas? Yormark and a small group of reporters after his press conference, which I saw an email that they weren't going to do that
I thought they were supposed to do that, but
reemphasizes that the memorandum of understanding signed by the college football leaders last year does not necessarily grant so. So in other words, the Big 12 and the ACC, they get nervous, you can all, but it's up to the Big 10 and also the SEC to make sure everybody's taken care of. I don't believe that.
Well, they say, but like that's one of those things that, all right, I'm going to put you in charge, but you have to have my best interest at heart too. But I'm not going to be in the room for all these things. I don't know. We'll
ask Rich Clark that.
That's a slippery slope to me. Like I don't know.
What part do you not believe?
That the Big 10 and SEC would put aside their own personal gain for the betterment of college athletics.
I thought he was saying that he didn't believe that they were the ones that were controlling everything. I was going to say, no, well, you believe it because it's true. But, yeah, I think sometimes we fall into a trap of being too negative and to think that, like, oh, well, because they wanted this, that, I mean, I don't know. I'll give them the benefit of the doubt. And ultimately they're going to do what's best for their respective conferences. But I do think that there's a couple ways that you can show your power to some extent when you're not those who have the power, and it's to go and win football games, and it's also to apply public pressure. And I've said this now countless times on this very show. So the winning can't be done for another 6 weeks or so, but the public pressure can get ratcheted up at any time. And Yormark talking about them today, just putting more onus on the responsibility that they have. Now, I don't know how much responsibility that they feel that they have. If you went off of fans, they feel like they should already have just eliminated the Big 12 and completely disintegrated the ACC and taken their best teams, which could eventually happen, one day down the line anyways. But hopefully the public outcry from the Big 12 or from the ACC circles, from the coaches, from the commissioners does have some effect because I know Big Ten and SEC fans who just care about those leagues don't care about the rest of college football, but I think most college football fans are college football fans. Like, I'm not like, oh, well, if the Big 12 goes, I'm leaving. I mean, I'm sorry, but I think we're all college football fans. And so, yeah, you'd hope the people that are in charge have the best interest of the game as a whole in mind. And sometimes it doesn't seem that way, but I think it's too early to say that that's not going to be the case ultimately here, because I think if there is enough public pressure, then they're going to do what's best for the sport. And maybe I'm completely wrong on that, but that's why you keep bringing it up and you keep kind of tabs on the fact that that's what they should know, is that they are looking out for the betterment of the game, not just for themselves.
By the way, Paxton agreed, Craig, just win, and that will take care of itself. Shut them up.
Yeah, and that's some that though is easier said than done, because you can win a lot, and then what they'll do is, but like you guys are cute.
Yeah, but ultimately, man, you win enough. They can't
have to
continue to screw you over.
You have to beat them. You have to beat everybody else, and that's the thing. So when you get those opportunities, you got to take them, especially in the postseason. You got to win in the playoff. And I do think the public pressure is important. You cannot let them have a moment of, all right, I think we can sneak something past them, because they've already tried to do it. The AQ thing is trying to sneak something past everybody and then expecting people to be like, oh, 2 when I only had 1 last year.
Yep.
You're so benevolent. Thank you.
A mini tournament and the semifinals of a conference. Yeah, like all that jazz that we've been hearing ideas about. And some of them seem like they'd be pretty cool. Some of it starts to just kind of all just get a little bit too busy for my taste, but I know there's a lot of people that like some of the ideas that have been presented. But yeah, I mean, ultimately they're going to do what they want to do. But if you're Brett Yormark, throw their names out there and they're going to hear it and they're going to see it. And I'm sure they already have. Just keep tabs on them and just keep, better for the game? What's better for the game? What's better for the game? And then when they don't do that, I don't know what the end result is for somebody like Brett Yormark, but Brett Yormark can say, hey, we've been saying for the last year, like, we're doing what we can for the betterment of the game. And he talked about, like, I think the far more important thing he talked about was not the Big Ten and the SEC, because that gets just to be so old after a while, but it was reiterating that they wanted the 5-11, and they haven't backed off that. They've only reinforced that, I think, in the last few hours of hearing every coach that's been brought up to that we've talked to has all agreed with the 5-11. Yormark's doubling down on the 5-11, and they think that's ultimately going to work out for them in the long run. But yeah, they don't have a lot of say, so they're saying what they can at their media days or in their interviews and hoping that it can make a difference. But ultimately, yeah, it's not in their hands.
Kalani Sitake, you'll hear from him later today. I loved his idea. It's not going to happen. Why don't the 4 power conference schools, which would not be fair to the Boise States and others, but why don't we have our 3 non-conference games? All of us play 9 conference games. We play 1 Big Ten team. We play 1 ACC team. We play 1 SEC team. Roll the dice, see what happens. It's not going to happen, but that's the kind of mentality and where he is in his head.
Look, it's eventually probably going to head that direction, right? Like, or close to it if there's a break-off between the Power 4 and the G5. So, I mean, you might as well start talking about those ideas now, in my opinion, if you have them. But I would like to see that more than anything, that they would, do that so where you can see these good games all the time. But coaches,
Chris Klieman telling us today that coaches are not even represented on some of the most important committees that cover or handle the rules and what they can do with college football.
Yeah,
that Brett Bielema is the only one who's on the NCAA oversight committee.
I don't know why I was surprised when I heard him say that, given how, like, if you look at, the I'll just give you an example in life. The environmental board of Florida is full of, like, oil guys and sugar tycoons that don't care about what they dump in the water. And then they've been like, you guys are in charge of the water. And they're like, great.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So, like, why would you put somebody that knows something about how to clean it up if they're going to make it a little harder for you? Because that's what will happen with the coaches. They'll come up with all these ideas that the talking, like the big idea people at the top that are like, we're going to play this qualifier and this, and then we're going to do this and this and this. And the coach is like, hey, how about we do this? Because this is what makes sense. And like, yeah, but that's not as fun. That's to me, that's why I think they need coaches on this committee. They need people like, look, you want to know if they had an election for college football commissioner and, Chris Klieman stopped coaching Kansas State and he wanted to run for it, I'd probably vote for a coach before I'd vote for an administrator.
You think so? So we have a box of Pop-Tarts. They're here. They're visible. Greatest bowl game monitor marketing job ever. They're going to be They're going to be in Ireland for K-State, Iowa State. They're going to be a part of that. One of their reps was here. It's a great story, obviously, with what they did. Devin Gardner, former Michigan quarterback, who's a part of Fox, put up a tweet yesterday. I hear a lot of talk about this upcoming quarterback class and not a lot of talk about the crop of quarterbacks in the Big 12. There will be a ton of risers coming out of the Big 12. Top to bottom could be the best. Remember, I said it first. No, you didn't.
No.
Did he really say it? Remember, I said it first?
You heard it here first in capital letters. I appreciate it, Devin. I reached out to him because we've had him on. No, we have been saying that, and not just us. Others have been saying that the crop of the Big 12 quarterbacks is elite and very good.
Well, I'd respond to him, but he blocked me last year. So when y'all do that interview, you wonder why I don't ask a question. You'll know why. No love lost, but yeah, I think that's the most obvious thing about the conference is the fact that there's a lot of great quarterbacks, and maybe really good's a better way to phrase it, and then great, because I don't want to just abuse and, whore out the word great. Like sometimes we can do that with superlatives, but I think there's a lot of really good quarterbacks. I think there's some potentially great quarterbacks and several who showed signs of being able to be great. It's just about stringing it all together. But from Avery Johnson to Sawyer Robertson to Rocco Becht to Josh Hoover, and then you get into the rest of the league. We go on and on. I'm not going to go through all 16 names. Not every single one of those teams has that dude, but a majority of them do have like that type of a guy. Brendan Sorsby can be a really, really good quarterback, and Jalen Daniels when he's on. And we could go on, but that's the the most obvious thing about the league outside of the parity factor is the crop of quarterbacks they have this year. And so that you would hopefully would think would bode well. Now, as far as championship aspirations, do they all just beat each other up because it is such a competitive league? Like, that's the worry that you have sometimes. But even if that happens or whether it doesn't, we're going to see some really good quarterback play, I feel like, in the Big 12 this year, and that's just stating the obvious.
No, it is. So we have an amazing group. Hopefully you'll enjoy the various interviews. 7 of the 8 coaches here today will join us, including we have been trying for since he was hired at Arizona State, and, of course, the remarkable year they had last year. 4th and 13, had Texas in trouble, couldn't make the play, but they won the Big 12. And here's Arizona State football coach Kenny Dillingham. Media days in Frisco at the Star, Cowboys headquarters, and right now the headquarters of Big 12 champion Arizona State, Kenny Dillingham. Coach, thank you very much for your time. What is the difference as you are here today, and we just started, compared to where you were at this time a year ago?
Yeah, well, people think we're good, which sucks. I would much prefer the opposite. I mean, I asked our players, could I say that we suck and all of you guys were overrated? That way we can get that chip back. But I think that's the difference, is learning how to realize that what people think of you doesn't matter, good or bad, being able to flush it. And that's really the challenge of today, is getting our guys over all the positive they're going to get and realize that external factors have zero effect on winning football games. You can't smell yesterday's roses. They're going to die.
So you did not like that they got rid of the media preseason poll, I would assume.
I was hoping they would have one and pick us like 5th or 6th. I would have not preferred been picked first. I'm glad if they were going to pick us in the top 3, I'm glad they got rid of it.
It is it's a tricky tightrope to walk, right? Is when you have a chip on your shoulder and you prove to everybody, well, that chip is, like you said, yesterday's roses. That's different. So now it's a different thing that you have to use to motivate, right? Because, year one, it was you kind of your own school kind of left you out, clipped your wings before the season started. And then last year was nobody in the whole country thinks that we're any good. Now everybody knows you're good. So you have to find that other motivation, don't you?
Yeah, I think the motivation is very simple. Why would you come back to be the same? Mm-hmm. We had 18 starters come back. Why would you come back? How you doing, Coach? Why would you come back to be the same? That's the definition of a loser. Like, if you want to just come back and be the same again, why are you? I wish you would have transferred. Go somewhere else and be the same. So I think the challenge for us is the drive to be better. It's that simple. Who knows what better is? Our league got better. There are some teams that have built unbelievable rosters. We may be better and not win the league. That's fine. I just want to be the best version of us. And if another team's better than us, that's fine, as long as we're the best version of us.
Katie, I've always thought, and I lived in Tempe when I was very young. My dad's military. He was getting his ASU. He got his master's degree. He was military. But and that's when Frank Cush was the coach.
Okay.
And Charlie Taylor and Jerry Smith and all that history. But I always thought Arizona State was a sleeping giant. What did you see when that opportunity came up?
Well, I'm born and raised there. I grew up going to games, grew up watching Jake Plummer, playing catch in the parking lot. And it's a combination of a city, and most cities don't have, huge fan bases because they're pro sports towns. But Arizona State is unique because, as you just alluded to, that was the football show in town. Mm-hmm. If you wanted to watch a football game, you went to watch Arizona State football with Frank Cush, and it would sell out, and it was the show in town. We still have that rooted fan base this is an Arizona State football town, IJT, Arizona State football town. And because of that piece, that it's still an Arizona State football town, we have 7,500 more season tickets, right? We're almost sold out. We have every premium seat sold, but we're in a pro market. Not many pro market colleges have the balance where they can sell out their college game and then sell out their pro game. So I think that's the unique part about Arizona State, is you can live in a big city but be treated like a college football team. And not many people can say that. That's our advantage. And if we continue to show progress in the program, I think we'll continue to sell out. We'll continue to get a better environment. And if you get a better environment and a great place to live, that's the sleeping giant you're talking about. The only problem is it's never woken up. Yeah. So is it dead or is it sleeping? That's what we're trying to figure out.
you are a very good quarterback coach, one of the best in the country. You have an ability. Look, I'm a Florida State guy. You got a lot out of Jordan Travis. He was raw, and then you also, Bo Nix was this guy who didn't wake up until the fourth quarter when he was at Auburn. And then at Oregon, you got the most out of him. What's been your secret sauce with those guys that have the potential, figuring out how to do it from minute 1 to minute 60?
Listening. Very simple. I don't play quarterback. I never did. I was never good enough to play in college. Listening. At the end of the day, that person is back there taking a snap and making decisions at like that. If you think you're going to train somebody to think 100% like you in the most heated moments in battle, you're wrong. You have to be able to listen to them, and they want to do one play and you want to do another. You better choose their play. So I think the secret sauce, if anything, has been listening, which sounds so simple. And then being able to teach the game maybe a little different, because I don't have maybe the training that, most people come up in a certain training system in college football. They played it, they learned it. We're going to go 1 to 2 to 3 to 4. We're going to high-low the nickel or high-low the will to the home run post with the safety drives. I never had real training. I kind of learned from a whole bunch of different people, a whole bunch of different ways, and kind of have my own way of seeing the game. And I express that and teach our guys how I see the game. And they may take some of how I see the game and apply it, some of how they see the game, and I'll adapt to them. So I would say the biggest thing is listening to the guy who's going to take the snap and then giving them power to change a play, to get in a good play, to do what they should never take the ball if they don't like what's about to happen with the play. They should always be able to change it.
1 year into this league, 16 teams, kind of hard to wrap your head around sometimes, just what everybody's got and all that. But what's your impression of the Big 12? What do you think of when you think of the Big 12 conference in 2025?
Parity. Golly, 8.5 to 5. That's the difference.
Yeah.
8.5 wins is the projected for the first team. 5 is the last. What league has a 3.5 point spread, 3.5 game spread for their entire 16-team league? That is the definition of the Big 12. It is every week. You better bring your A game. You better be able to win close games. You better be able to win the margins. This league is the definition of close games and the margins. And you can go from last year. If we would have lost our close games, we're 6-6. And guess what? Can you continue to improve is the narrative. You took a first step. Can you take another one? We won the close games. Now the narrative is, can you stay at the top? Whatever it is. So I would say winning close games, this league is competitive as crap.
Do you feel like the league is underrated nationally? Do you care about that? You were so close to being in the semifinals with an incredible performance against Texas. Does that even come into play for coaches and programs?
I think the league is underrated. I do, because of the parity. We beat each other. I do believe that. I think the other leagues are really good, though, too. I think so. I don't want to say that people are undervaluing, our league. I think we have phenomenal coaches in our league. I will say that. Our coaches in this league every week when you watch, there's like little changes. And you don't always see that in other leagues I've been in. You see a lot of copycat. You see a system that has worked in the league. And then everybody kind of replicates that system. Our league is just filled with people with different, really successful backgrounds that do different things. So you go from a 4-down, cover one, rip Liz match team, and then all of a sudden you're a 3-3 stack, 3 high with 2 trapping corners. Then the next week you're facing odd simulators from Baylor, and you're like, what the crap? Can we just get like the same defense 2 weeks in a row? I think that is another piece of parity, is that we have so many different coaches that come from different backgrounds. The systems are so different. Hard to prepare for 4 to 5 defensive or offensive systems in the same year.
I think my personal beef with the way that people assess, like, this league is better or this league is better because of recruiting rankings or historical things or whatever, is every league has their own, like you just said, set of challenges. Like in the SEC, you're playing in mostly like ridiculously massive stadiums. You've got, all these fan bases that know the game better, but then you get into a league like the Big 12 and like there may be slightly smaller fan bases, but the stadiums are still packed. And like you said, it's different every week. So the challenge isn't, what do we do here? Like, about this one player who's a stud. It's, I have to, in 3 days, figure out something completely different win the game, and then do it again a completely different way 1 week later.
100%. I mean, I remember when I was at Auburn, we faced pretty much, the same defense about half of the season. Was all going to be Ripley's match, 4 down that would hop into odd, right? Play quarters versus 2x2, slide down, play 4 down and 3x1 sets. And everything was Ripley's match. And it was like, for the most part, right? That was the core. And I think it's interesting being in a league where it's like polar opposite. It's like, golly. But it's also harder to be in that league because you're exposing what your top things are. When you're in the SEC or when you're in these other teams where there's similar defenses, you're exposing what you like versus these teams. So you have to find new ways to attack the same defense. So what I say is difficult in our league is change is also difficult in other leagues like the SEC because it's how do I dress up the pig so many times because I'm facing a very similar thing. And I don't know what it is now. I don't watch that league as much. I'm just going back to my time when I was at Auburn, but every league has their own challenges. I think that's what makes college football great is you get to talk about it and argue about it, and everybody's going to have a different side of what they believe, and I think that's what sports is about, arguing.
I feel like you're going to be asked about Sam Levitt in every interview, probably Kanye Udo and Jordan Tyson, and those are kind of the names. Is there some guys, and maybe some that you brought that maybe won't get as much shine or much talk that you'd like to maybe shed a little light on?
Yeah, Xavier Alford. There's honestly a bunch. I mean, for us, we have so many returners that I think are really good football players. Zay's with us today. He gave all of our pregame speeches last year. He was the guy who spoke to the guys. If you look at all of our media, then you have Miles Rouser coming back at boundary safety, Keith Abney, Javen. I mean, I don't want to go through everybody.
Yeah, 18 guys coming back.
Correct.
You said. Yeah,
there's so many guys that have gotten bigger, stronger, faster. That I don't want to single out anybody because I think there's a bunch of guys.
Well, is there maybe under the radar storyline or something that maybe doesn't get talked about enough maybe with your program that you'd like to shine a little light on?
Yeah, I think the fact that we lost in the winter portal, we only lost 2 guys in our 2 deep to the transfer portal. And in the spring portal, we lost 0 guys in our 3 deep to the transfer portal. And, everybody knows that we weren't, the kings of the NIL. Like that wasn't our model, but people want to be at Arizona State. I think our model is a little different. Our model is about retention, not recruitment. I don't want to be known as a elite recruiter. I want to be known as our program retains our best players. And guess what? If you're not playing and you want to move on, I'm going to help you move on to play football somewhere. I will help you. I'll find a place for you. But our guys that are playing for us, my challenge is to never lose a player that is actually playing games for us. It's about the retention of those guys and them wanting to be there. So that's what I'm most proud about is all of these guys, except for Sam, that are here today at Media Day, these 6, they all showed up. They were all transfers other than CJ Fight, but they were all my first year in January transfer portal, and they've been in the program 3 years. And they're here back again.
Yeah, you mentioned Fight, Tatum, Texas. I covered East Texas for a long, long time. Love the family, unbelievable player, a motor. So who replaces the motor of Cam Scatterbo? Is that something that just is part of the culture, that next man up?
Yeah, everybody. You can't replace a player like that. So everybody does. Sam does by throwing, 7 more quick games a game. 7 more P and 10 passes, second and 8 passes are quick games. Beautiful. All right, then Sip does, and Ralik does, and Udo does. Everybody takes a little piece of it, and if everybody takes a little bit of piece of it, then we're going to be just fine. It's when one person thinks they have to take the whole pie is when we have a problem, because you can't eat that pie by itself.
Hey, good news is nobody has to tackle him in practice anymore.
No, very true. Very true.
Kenny Dillingham of the Big 12 champion Arizona State Sun Devils with us on 365 Sports. Thanks for your time. Great to meet you.
Thank you. Good to meet you.
Yeah.
Right now at Bird Collision Ford, we're bringing you an offer that's as big as America. Employee pricing for everyone. You pay what they pay. That means you drive home a new Ford F-150, Bronco Sport, Expedition, Super Duty. From America, for America. Employee pricing for everyone at BK Ford. Looking to sell your vehicle? Get top dollar for yours today. Don't miss out. Employee pricing is available for a limited time. Visit us anytime at bkford.com. Experience better at BK Ford.
I'll never get used to this. I'll never get used to this. This is how I wanna live. Forever.
Whatever it is you wrangle, whatever seeds you sow, no matter what you nurture or what you choose to grow, at Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, we're proud to protect all Texans.
This is 365 Sports.
The 3 o'clock hour is sponsored by Waco Custom Marketplace. Meats, sweets, Texas treats, and a cut above the rest. 425 Lake Air Drive, Waco.
Frost, UCF football coach, with us on 365 Sports, and I guess this is like a sequel with Scott Frost at UCF, huh?
Yeah, I guess you could say that. Some sequels come out way later. I feel like it's more like the last Indiana Jones movie. Like, it took a while to get here, but it's fun to be back. My wife and I love Orlando. We're happy to be home.
When you were there the first time, obviously it ended with the great success. Then you moved, and then you come back. Has it changed at UCF? Now, obviously, a part of the Big 12 Conference?
There's a lot that's the same. It feels, like home. I love going into work every day, but the university is so new and it's growing so fast. Our alumni base is growing, the university is growing, our donor base is growing, and the potential for growth at UCF is so great that I'm excited to be on the ride. Like, I can't wait to watch where UCF is several years down the road.
Sean Connery stopped being James Bond for a little while and then came back and did another one after Roger Moore. So that could be you.
Was that Never Say Never Again?
I want to say that's the one where he's back. He's a little older, James Bond.
No,
not that you're not much older than that, but that could be. I would rather be Sean Connery in that situation.
You're right.
That's what you should tell people.
That's better than the last Indiana Jones movie.
he was
better metaphor.
He was on top of that train. I was like, oh, he's old. It's that's scary. So you've stepping into a situation that you were familiar with. Does it allow you to maybe hit the ground running in a different way than when you are at other places, like even as a coordinator, when you're at Oregon or whatever, where you have to know the lay of the land? Now you know this lay of the land. It's just enhanced.
Yeah, I think there's going to be some advantages to that. We obviously knew a lot of high school coaches around Florida. I knew a lot of the people still at UCF. Just knew my way around town, which helped. But college football's changed too. I had to learn on the fly with all the new rules and transfer portal and NIL, and now that's changing, and it'll continue changing. I think the only thing you can bank on is it'll be different 6 months from now, so you're going to have to stay light on your feet. So there's some challenges, but there was also a lot of familiarity.
So one of the things that's different is the league, right? Your first Big 12 media days, just kind of what's your thoughts on the league and what you know of it as, and kind of your expectations rolling in this year and playing against a lot of the people here today.
It's exciting. I was part of the Big 12 as a player,
right?
When it started, and being away and watching the league's fun to watch because there's so much parity in this league. Said this a few times today, but I think you can make an argument for any team in this league that if they put it together and have a great season, they could win this league, and that's not the case in every league. I love the brand of football, high scoring, and there's a lot of different styles in this league, which I think make it fun to watch. And it's exciting to be in a league where if we do everything right and our team comes together, we're going to have a chance, and that's fun.
Slightly different Big 12 from when you played. I forgot that you played there at the tail end, but a little bit of a different looking league, is it not? I mean, almost wholesale different in a lot of ways.
It is. There's a lot of familiar schools and places, and there'll be some stadiums that I've been in before a long time ago. But obviously, Utah and Colorado weren't in it, and Cincinnati wasn't in it, and there's some UCF wasn't in it, so there's some different ones. And I give the leadership of the Big 12 a lot of credit for keeping this thing together and building it into the conference it is now.
Kenny Dillingham earlier today said to us that there's no week is the same week, even though a lot of teams may have similar styles, whatever. But as an offensive guy, looking at the defenses that you face week in and week out is like a Rubik's Cube. You just don't know that there's so many different angles or whatever. That's a great challenge for a coach, is it not?
It is, and I think, like I said, there's a variety of styles in this league. I haven't been in a few different leagues. Every league kind of takes on its own trends, I would say. This league has been kind of a 3-3 stack, and it's been kind of unique to Big 12 for a long time. But there's teams that run other things, and you got to solve that riddle every week. And the variety in this league is really interesting to me. Not everybody doesn't look the same in this league.
You were quarterback in college, and then you played defense in the pros, and then you've been in a whole bunch of different offensive systems, where it's Tom Osborne's, power eye, or it's, coaching at Oregon and spread and what you've run. How does that give you the perspective to, when you create new things or when you adjust to new things, to know how a quarterback thinks, how a linebacker thinks, how a safety thinks, maybe a little bit different than most?
Yeah, I've been lucky. I've experienced a lot, and that I'm going to date myself here by talking about all the things that I've been a part of. But
I just said the power eye. Nobody knows what that is anymore.
No, you don't see that anymore. But
Yeah.
I went to Stanford out of high school and played for Bill Walsh and learned the West Coast. And then I learned Coach Osborne's offense. And then I went to the NFL and played for Bill Parcells and Bill Belichick, and finished my career with the Tampa 2 with Monty Kiffin in Tampa, and Raheem Morris and Mike Tomlin. And then I ended up at Oregon when Chip was changing college football with the offense he was running. And then my last stop watching Sean McVay's offense. So it's been fun, man, as a guy that loves football, just being around those type of systems and people. I've learned a lot.
Matt, you remember Matt Copeland from Barefoot Athletics?
I do.
You were recruiting, I think, Jarrett Stidham at the time. He told me a story, got to know him. He's a sponsor of our show. That he said you're one of the most natural guys on a recruiting visit that he'd ever met before. Because Jarrett had been recruited by a lot of different people, ended up at Baylor, as you know. But he told me that you got like, you pulled a dip out, popped it in your mouth, and just started talking. And I hope you don't mind me bringing that up, because he said you were just so natural in that environment.
Yeah, I've stopped dipping now, which my wife is happy about. But I went down to Stephenville. Jared was one of my favorite kids I recruited, and he and I hit it off. I was at home in a place like Stephenville, Texas, anyway. But it's easy to recruit when you love the place you are and you believe in it. And when I was at Oregon, I really believed in it. We were looking for the next great quarterback, and thought we were going to get Jarrett, and he ended up going somewhere else. Then I ended up coaching against him in my last game at UCF. He was at Auburn.
Oh, that's right.
What a great young man. Wish I could have had a chance to work with him.
Scott Frost, the head coach at UCF, with us on 365 Sports.
You enter this year with a quarterback competition, which – is it exciting or terrifying, or both?
It's both. The exciting part is there's been a lot of years I've gone into a season with, I don't think one quarterback as good as the three we have, any one of them. I would feel good about going into the year with any one of the three. The scary part is, we want that to reveal itself sooner rather than later, so that we can start developing some continuity and getting some reps for the right guy. If I knew right now, we'd already do that, but all three guys have shown enough that they deserve a shot, and I really don't know who it's going to be right now.
So the quarterback competition and your return, I think, are easily the two biggest headlines and probably the things that you talk about the most. What would you maybe like to talk about that's not maybe as covered when it comes to your football team, and maybe some things you're excited about?
I think over time in this season, if things go well, there'll be some different narratives. We got a lot of great kids. We got a lot of talent. If we don't succeed this year, I don't think it'll be because of talent. It'll be because we have 70 new players on our football team and trying to get a collection of individuals to work together as a team. There's a fine line between winning and losing, and sometimes that just comes down to culture, attitude, competitiveness, and how close-knit your team is. And we're working really hard to make sure that we take a group of people and turn them into a cohesive unit.
Does the transfer portal, is it easier or more difficult for an incoming coach?
It was hard during the transfer portal. There was days I was wishing I hadn't even thought about doing this. It was 6 a.m. till midnight and falling asleep with my phone in my hand for 5 weeks. You have to evaluate, negotiate, bring kids in, talk to people. You're making deals, losing deals, getting kids, losing kids, not even sure who's on your roster or who's staying, and then trying to fill holes that you don't know if you have or not. The positive thing I would say is it doesn't take 3 years of recruiting and developing anymore to flip a roster. I came in and I think we had 48 scholarship players when I showed up on campus, and we needed 85. So we had a lot of work to do, but we were able to go out and get the kids that fit our system and kids that we evaluated, that we wanted. And so you're able to turn it over a lot faster.
What would you, if you could make the structure of how the off season goes, what would you make it of how a roster needs to be built now? Because it does seem to be more professionally based, where a general manager is an actual general manager, and the coach can maybe be the closer as opposed to the primary recruiter. And the calendar is just messed up for you guys. I feel for college coaches that have to deal with the calendar that's so upside down and crossways for you.
Yeah, it's not fun, but nobody wants to hear us complain. We get compensated really well, and we get to do a job that we love doing and be around a sport we love to be around. So nobody wants to hear complaining. It's not in a good place right now, but that's where it is. So we got to stay light on our feet and adjust. And I think everybody wants one transfer portal. The thought of building a team and then not sure who you're going to lose after you've already been working with them and lose them again, that's tough. The big thing for me is, they're really pushing to get the rev share model done, and I'm grateful for that. There's a question right now if people are going to be limited to that rev share, if they're going to be able to spend tens of $millions over that in NIL. And I think that's a battle that's coming. In my opinion, college football is a better game if everybody has the same standards and the same resources to work with. Teams with advantages aren't going to want to give that up. But college football is not in a good place if the game turns into whoever has the richest boosters wins.
Well, your boosters, your alums, as a young school, are all young, very, very young, and some of them have been incredibly successful in business. Mark Daniels was talking about that, voice of UCF. Is that a good thing that they're young and maybe aggressive, or do you have some of the old donors that have been around? You don't have that much.
We have both. We have 4 or 5 gentlemen that have been carrying the weight for UCF athletics for a long time. It's kind of transitioning now. We're such a new school, and we have such a growing alumni base that sooner or later those people are going to go out and do well, and we're going to be in a really good spot. But we're kind of in puberty right now going through. We don't have the support and resources that some other people do, but give us 5 or 10 more years and we'll be a heavy hitter.
Have you ever just randomly thought at all, just I don't know, it's a random day or somebody gets free time, how much Scott Frost, the player, could have maybe commanded an NIL?
Yeah, I'm so happy the players get compensated now, because what they do is it's a lot. They're putting their life at risk and their health at risk. It's just out of control.
Yeah.
And there has to be some guardrails around it. I remember when this started and they said, this isn't pay-per-play, this is NIL. Well, we went zooming by that really fast. And 3 years ago, Ryan Day, who I have a lot of respect for, just coming off a national championship, made a lot of news when he said we need $13 million a year to be competitive. Well, that was two and a half years ago, and now we're looking at teams spending 40 or 50 million. So I don't know where it's going to stop unless we can get a handle on it. And like I said, NFL, I was just in the NFL. It's such a great game because everybody plays by the same rules, and the games always come down to the last drive, and makes it a competitive, exciting sport. And I hope that for college football at some point.
Well, it's not like, I think the thing that I think that gets lost in the thing is it's not about capping the compensation that players can have, but it's making it realistic so they also don't get screwed, right? I mean, there's predatory people out there that are doing this, like how many, we've heard a lot of deals that don't go through, and also just making it worth it to like an 18-year-old kid is probably has a lot on him if all of a sudden he's got $5 million and he hasn't played a snap yet.
Well, when you're talking about NIL is supposed to be commensurate with the value that they bring the companies that they're working for, representing. There's very few 18-year-old kids that have enough name recognition to be worth that kind of money. So you can call it NIL if you want to, but it's pay for play. And I really admire the moves that they're trying to make to try to reel it back in. But the genie's out of the bottle now, and smarter than people than me are working on it.
When you left Nebraska and eventually the NFL, as you mentioned, did you think you'd be a head coach again?
I didn't know if I wanted to. I really am grateful to the Rams. Was out there with Sean and Les for a while, and their whole staff is just unbelievable guys and smart guys. And that really kind of reignited my passion for doing it after taking it on the chin really bad. Kind of wanted to stay in the NFL. UCF's probably the only job I would have taken because my wife and I loved Orlando, and I got so much love for the school and the people there that wanted to go to try to help again. So I'm happy to be back.
What are the expectations for you, for yourself, this first year? You said you got to win. You should win. You have a loaded roster. What are your expectations?
I didn't say loaded roster. You said that.
Got some good talent.
I'm sorry. You said you had a lot of talent. We should not misquote you.
Yes, thank you. We just got to stick to our plan and try to be better every single day, try to get better every single practice and better every single game. I think we got enough talented players that we're not going to get outclassed a lot. It just literally comes down to how well we can get that quickly. We can get that talent playing like a team.
Can you sneak the power eye into just like one formation? For me, I miss seeing it. I miss fullbacks. There's guys out there that could be fullbacks.
Hey, they're
starving.
Were you a fullback?
No, I've always wanted to be. I wasn't fast enough.
It's funny watching football over my lifetime, and football is so cyclical, and usually things that go away and then something else becomes a trend, and then it circles back. And I imagine usually when you're the outlier too, you have a little bit of an advantage. So there'll be someone along the line that goes back to doing something like that, and teams won't know how to fit two-back runs anymore, and they'll get an advantage.
I still think Nebraska should never gotten away from what they ran. But I know there was the transition, Solich to Callahan or whatever, and it went out the window because that my God, it was so successful.
Yeah, I don't want to talk about them or that place. It is about us, but I will say, Frank should have been the coach there a long time. I think he got let go after a 9 or 10 win season.
Yep.
He was a great coach. He kept a lot of what it was alive, and I got so much admiration for Frank.
Would you mind me asking about the influence Coach Osborne had on you?
No, not at all. I've been lucky to be around some good people, like I said, from Coach Walsh and Coach Osborne. On down the line, Coach Osborne above all else is just a good man. Him and probably Mike Tomlin and Raheem Morris at my last stop in the NFL had the most impact on me and how I like to approach things as a coach. And I root for those guys because of what they did for me.
Do you think Raheem is about to? I have a feeling he's about to break out. His first go wasn't the perfect situation for him, but I have a feeling he's about to be one of those guys in the NFL people.
No, see, I'm a Raheem guy. He got that job young at Tampa because he deserved it.
Yeah.
And they overhauled the roster, and he still, I think, outperformed what they expected, and he got let go anyway and battled to get another chance, and go Falcons.
How much do your current players know about Scott Frost, the player?
Oh, very little. Yeah, it's been too long. I don't know when these guys were born anymore, but it was in the 2000s.
Yeah. At least you got YouTube, though, right?
My last year playing was, I guess, in Tampa in 03 or 04, and a lot of these guys weren't born. So, yeah, I can pull up a YouTube once in a while, but I'm not that arrogant.
Fair enough. Yeah.
Well, let me tell you this: I appreciated all you did as a player. I remember when you beat Tennessee, and then you made in the interview, you said you were number one. I'll always appreciate you for that, and also what you did at UCF and what you're getting ready to do at UCF. I appreciate all that.
Thank you. I've had a chance to be around some really good teams over time, and it's hard to go undefeated in college football, and I've been a part of that a few times too, and mostly just because of other people and leadership around us. And we got a big mountain to climb to try to to have one of those special years again.
They said that about Arizona State last year. Look at what they did.
You're right.
They said that about Cincinnati one year. They said that about TCU one year. Thank you for your time. We appreciate it, Coach.
Yeah, I hope you're talking about us in a year.
No, that's exactly
and your
what
loaded
I'm
roster.
Yeah.
Stop putting words in my mouth.
If you end up winning big, I'll remember. I will bring that up. Scott Frost, head football coach at UCF, with us on 365 Sports. All right, it was great to hear from Scott Frost. Somebody in the chat asked, does he have a national championship ring from UCF when they had that? But he does have one as a player. He does have one at Nebraska as a player. And here's Sawyer Robertson. Wow, what at this time last year, you weren't here. I'm not sure you were even invited to be here. And here you are, how things have changed, and you haven't changed at all. What's it been like the last 12 months?
Yeah, I've been a little bit of a emotional roller coaster, I guess, is the best way to put it. It's been really cool, though, just because I've been telling people when they've been asking that same question throughout the course of the day. My approach, preparation, mentality hasn't really changed at all. Before I was the starting quarterback, I kind of carried myself and acted as if I was. I wanted to be that guy in the locker room, be the leader, the vocal guy. However I could help the team, that's how I was going to help the team. And even though the circumstances and the expectations might have changed now, I still feel like I'm carrying myself the same way. So.
You last year were in a quarterback battle. You also came in as a transfer. So now you're the starter. You're the unquestioned starter, and you have Walker White behind you. What is your role when it comes to bringing him in the quarterback room and like walking him along, as far as like being that leader you talked about, and then sharing some advice, because you've gone through pretty much the exact same thing, really?
Yeah. There's definitely a few things. Fortunately, I was able to play and have really, really good relationships with the guys who I played behind, whether it was Will at Mississippi State, Blake, and then DQ last year. And so just kind of like maintaining that continuity with the current quarterback room, whether it's Walker, Nate, Ed, Cade, all those guys. Just I want to be able to give them advice whenever they need it, be the guy kind of like they look up to, even though maybe none of them will admit it. I know I wouldn't have admitted that whenever I was, playing, whenever I was the backup. But trying to help out in any way that I can and be a guy that they can look up to and kind of learn some things from, for sure.
So this is the time to talk about expectations and things like that. But Coach Aranda was telling us, like, he doesn't really put that pressure. Like, we got to win 10 games to make this a successful season. But for you, like, it's kind of hard to deny the excitement around this team, though, right? Like, do you feel like there are expectations, or do you feel like there should be expectations for you guys?
I think there are, just because of how we ended last season, to be honest. And then on top of that, how many people were returning from last season's team, right? And a core group of leaders, a core group of guys that were making some plays last season. And so, but I also agree with what Aranda said. I think we're doing a good job of tuning all of that out, all those expectations, keeping the main thing. Our process, the way we approach things hasn't changed at all, even though the expectations might have come into this season versus last season after we finished 3-9, that season before.
Don't bring that up, right? That must just.
I said that a couple stations ago, and everybody kind of like looked at each other like
it's like an
unspeakable.
Coach Aranda said this. Coach Klieman has said this. Kalani Sitake at BYU. If your players are we players, not me players, then you have a chance. If your best players are like that, and Aranda mentioned that there were some drills and a couple of freshmen or whoever, they were kind of out of sync, and that some of the leaders on the team took them off to the side and had a kind of a strict conversation with them. What's that like, and how do younger players react to that?
Well, it's you got to have – so, like, all the new guys, right, whether it's a freshman, whether it's a transfer, whatever, you come into the university, into Baylor, and we do things how we do things, right? And so if they're out of line, it's like, hey, you might have done this at the place that you were before in high school or at your other previous college, but this is how we do things here. And so that specific instance, some guys were out of line, and some of the leaders on the team kind of got together. And whether it's like a group punishment, making them do things as all the other players watch, or having that strict conversation, stuff like that, at the end of the day, that's more important than letting them get away with it and kind of causing this division where it's like, okay, now you don't want it to be too late whenever you get in season and start playing games.
It stings a little bit more when it's one of your peers. It's like you're in or out. Yeah,
right.
It's things more than, the coach is going like, all right, you've heard that a million times, but when,
Absolutely.
especially if it's not just, you could be a corner of somebody you don't know as well.
Right.
But when one of their guys says it too with you, like, yeah, I'm with him, they're like, oh God.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like what he was saying. Like it's a player run, like we thing versus like, because that's the coach's job, right?
Yeah.
Every person who's played football has gotten their butt chewed by a coach, right?
Yeah.
But when the same thing happens from another player, one of your peers, one of the guys in the locker room with you, it means something different.
So this is a brand new year, clean white sheet of paper. Last year doesn't matter, whatever. But what do you take from last year, and maybe what do you get motivated by, or just kind of what do you bring from what you've experienced so far into this season to fuel you even further?
Yeah, I think just all the games with each game that I played, I felt more and more comfortable as the season went on. And so just taking everything that I learned from last year and applying that now to this new season, like you just said, it's going to be fun. And hopefully that trend continues where it's just with each and every start, get more and more comfortable as the season progresses. You just kind of turn into that guy that everybody looks to when somebody needs to make a play, becoming that guy.
What have the conversations been like between you and Coach Spavital? And when you get into a film room, or is it you and him, or you're watching, is that like two chemists trying to come up with something new that no one's seen before?
I can't say enough good things about Coach Spav. Just the way he carries himself, the way he operates the offensive unit, how he coaches us as quarterbacks from a mental standpoint, from a like if you make a bad play, bad read, whatever, hey, play the next play. All that stuff is so important that not a lot of people realize. And then, like you said, when you get in a film room and you hear him start talking ball, it's honestly unbelievable how intelligent he is, how much he cares, the passion, all that. But that's also the same guy you want to play for, And so speaking as the quarterback, and I know Josh and Omar and all the other guys on the offensive side of the ball feel the same way. Like that's somebody that we'll go to war for every single Saturday, along with all the other position coaches, Coach Miller, Coach Anderson, Coach Hall, Coach Bake, all the guys. And so those are dudes that we're willing to bleed for, that we're willing to go to war for on Saturdays.
There's not a fake bone in his body either. He's like, he is Jake Spavital, and he's not anybody else.
He calls it how he sees it.
Yeah. Like he couldn't be a spy. He just couldn't do it. You talked about expectations and like you leave them out. This is probably one of the easier conferences to not have expectations, right?
Absolutely.
Because what you did a year ago, what you did a week ago doesn't really matter. Like you have to get through them, all through one at a time, and then look at the end and see where you are, because the split's not that big. And the minute you start smelling yourself is when you get caught, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the biggest telltale for that is just looking at last season, right? And I know they're not doing the poll this year, the preseason prediction or anything, but I mean, like first is last and last became first, And so just looking at that shows you enough about this conference to where it's like, you better bring it every week, or else you're gonna get caught.
What is your favorite part about being a Baylor Bear?
There's not enough time on this show to answer that question.
We got 2 hours left, so
hey, I'll sit here the whole time and talk about it. To be honest, I love the Waco community and the people that are affiliated with Baylor. The amount of people that are willing to pour into you, not just as an athlete, but as a human being, as a Christian, as a student. It's unbelievable. I've had so many people reach out to me and just like invite me to lunch, invite me to dinner, stuff that I guess other places don't have. That's what makes Baylor so special, is just the community around Waco, and the sheer amount of people that are willing to invest time into you to better yourself.
I imagine that came into play when, it's a free world now in college football. You've been asked about the portal probably a million times, but how much did that come into play when even the thought crossed your mind of, what does my future look like?
You're saying as far as like the people of...
Yeah, like how much Baylor...
No, it was... Whenever all that stuff was going on, it never even crossed my mind to leave, just because of like you said, like Baylor is such a special place. And, I think even the bad season, I know we're not supposed to talk about, but the 3-9 season, still the amount of people that were willing to talk to me and have conversations with me and help me whenever we were going through something tough and something that's not easy to talk about and something that's not easy to live through, it showed me that no matter what happened, like this is a place that I wanted to be.
You know, the 3 and 9, you should. It's a reminder, right? You don't want to go through that again. That's a bad memory that you want to not erase, but you got to remember how you got away from that.
Yeah, absolutely. And the cool thing about it is, like, I'm looking around, like Josh Cameron was on that 3 and 9 team. Jackie Marshall was on that 3 and 9 team. Devin Bobby was on that 3 and 9 team. Colton Price. There's so many pieces that played last year and that are back again for this year that were a part of that 3 and 9 team. And really the only difference is everybody grew up. You know, we all grew up, we all grew together. But it's still that same group of guys that really nobody liked that 2023 season.
Josh is such a great story because he was a walk-on.
Yeah.
And you talk about a player-led team. You can't really showboat in front of a guy like Josh, right? Because he's done everything the hardest way it could be.
Yeah.
Working it up. So how much is it easier to, like, when you see guys that come in and kind of feel like, hey, I was first team All-State. Like, dude, this guy has, like, been through the ringer and he doesn't care where you are. We don't care. We are all here. Yeah. Like, he's really an amazing story.
Absolutely, and there's a reason that we call him captain on the team, you know, and it's because of how he carries himself both on and off the field. Like you said, with the guys that come in and think they're hot stuff, whatever, that normally doesn't last a whole lot of time, you know, before they get straightened out by Josh or by somebody else. You know, football is a funny game that it humbles people very quickly, and so I've learned that obviously throughout all the years that I've played. Josh is a great story of that too. Probably one of the best receivers coming out of the state of Texas and didn't even get a scholarship anywhere, you know, and worked his way up to now one of the best receivers in the Big 12, but did everything the hard way. And so football has a funny way of humbling people in different ways. And so it happens to everybody.
So I remember seeing the headline a while back, but I didn't never follow up on it. I just thought about it. Did you go to the Manning Passing Academy?
I did.
Okay.
Yeah.
What was that experience like?
It was awesome, man. It was really cool to spend time with other quarterbacks, especially the guys in the Big 12. I got to hang out with a lot of them for most of the time. Just matched personality to the guy you watch on film, the guy you see on TV. And so had a lot of just incredible conversations with them. They're all great people, all the guys that went there. And so it doesn't surprise me at all, like, why any of them have success on the football field. It's because they're all great leaders. They're all guys that their teammates can follow. And so I really enjoyed that aspect of it. And then there was a rain delay also while we were doing one of the workouts. So I'm sitting on the staircase kind of like waiting for the rain delay to go out. And then Eli Manning came and just sat right next to me, had like a 30-minute conversation with him. And so that was probably the highlight of my trip too, was getting to talk to Eli. I remember having his picture hanging on my wall. And just getting like little nuggets of information from him was really, really cool. And so I enjoyed it a lot.
You know, that family just seems like they've done basically everything right. And the way they've handled the players, the way Archie's handled the of course, his sons, and now with Arch. How have you had conversations with Arch?
Yeah, I got to know Arch a little bit at the thing. I can't say enough good things about him. He's a great dude. The way he carries himself, obviously has a lot of pressure, but he's ready for it, I feel like, and that's based off not very many conversations with him. Like I said, I only got a brief interaction with him, but he's a great dude. I really enjoyed getting to talk to him.
Does it make it, like, again, when you're looking across from them, it's just like these coaches that are all friends. When you're looking across, you're not friends for 60 minutes.
Right.
But when you're following the league along and you know that you're going to play Jalen Daniels or Avery Johnson or some of these guys, Sam Levitt that's out there, and you have that relationship, you're like, oh, I can't wait because we're both doing so well. Like, I can't wait for that moment.
It definitely creates like a fun aspect, a fun competitive aspect to it, where like you'll do anything to win. But at the same time, you go and you're going to dap them up after the game, tell them good job, all that stuff. So it was definitely cool.
Do you get a sense and looking around like this league's got a lot of really good quarterbacks in 2025?
Yeah,
I think that's like the headline for the league, quite frankly.
I tried to count the number of guys that were there at the thing. I think there were like 7 or 8 guys that were there, but there were still a bunch of good quarterbacks in the Big 12 that didn't go to the thing. And so there are a bunch of really talented, bunch of really good quarterbacks in the Big 12, and so it's going to be a fun year.
Seth Parr. I got to know him. He's at Anna. He was there with you in high school. He and I have traded texts back and forth when you were trying to figure things out. Mike Leach.
Yeah.
I mean, when Mike Leach is the one that recruits you to play quarterback, then there's no other questions, right? Yeah. And then now with Spavital, how much do you get to soak all of that in? And is there still anything from what Leach taught you that you still use today?
Yeah, the biggest thing that Leach taught me, he sent me a text, actually. really wasn't long before he passed away that he texted me. But I'm sure he was watching film. I didn't think I had a very good practice or something. And he said, quit thinking so much. He was like, you're way better when you react. He was like, just play the game you've always played. Don't overthink anything.
And he wasn't at the practice. He was just watching film.
No, he was at the practice. I'm saying he was watching the film of the practice, you know? And so I kind of just took that with me for a while after that and just like applied it, you know? It's like, yeah, he's kind of right, you know? Just react, trust your preparation, trust what you know, and just go out there and play. But yeah, it's cool getting to play for all of the guys that I've gotten to play for, starting with Coach Barr in high school, and then Leach after that, Grimes after that, and now Spavital. Yep. You know, you don't draw it up playing for 3 different offensive coordinators while you're in college. But you know, I was able to learn a lot of things from Leach. Then when I played for Grimes, got under center, ran kind of like the pro style wide zone offense, got some reps at that, and now playing for Spavital, spreading it out again and throwing it around, and so. It's been really good just because, I mean, shoot, obviously the end goal is to go play in the NFL, and the odds of you playing for the same offense coordinator in the NFL are really low too, you know? And so it's good to just have that kind of experience with different coaches.
Yeah, plus you never know that, like, when instead of talking about the game film, he's going to talk about Geronimo or what kind of steak you should order on a first date.
Listen now. Favorite Mexican food place in Lubbock. That was another question. Yeah, no, all of those.
Here's the thing. He doesn't just go, this is the place. He would tell the story of, you've got to get this, and then you ask for this way because of this. And if you have a girl with you, you get this.
If he got off topic while we were watching film, it was a 30-minute conversation. Like and he's just replaying this. He's just replaying the same play. So like, if there were a few times where it'd be a bad play where I would throw a bad ball or a pick or like missed read, and he's just replaying it, telling a story about Geronimo or something. I'm like, can you please go to the next play? I don't care. Like, you can tell the story. Just get off this play. I don't want to keep watching it.
I really want to learn about this. Yeah.
Man,
have you and Coach Aranda really shared any Mike Leach stories?
Aranda's got some great Leach stories. I don't know how many of them we're allowed to say, to be honest. But,
it's like being in the CIA.
Aranda, you know, Aranda, we've gotten some good, we both have some really, really good Leach stories. We've gotten to share them. Whenever I was coming from Mississippi State, going to Baylor, we were on the recruiting lunch or whatever, and we sat down with my parents, and we were just talking about Leach and some Leach stories. So that's a vivid memory that I have.
We had you live during the Super Bowl when we were in New Orleans. What was the deal? We got into food or what he couldn't eat or what you could. Isn't that what we did? There was
I can't remember.
I remember talking to you guys. I don't remember the.
I can't remember what it was.
I thought there was some kind of
Cajun food or something. But,
I can't remember. No, I'm not going to be able to remember what it was.
It might have been. What's the worst thing you've eaten that you know that Vic Valoria would make you do extra gassers or whatever in the last, let's say, 2 weeks?
Okay, are you saying bad for your bad for you or like
something that if
like a Twinkie or something?
No, you guys look at it. This guy's not even a Twinkie. Come on, this is a Twinkie body. That's not a Twinkie body.
Listen. I will say I do have a sweet tooth. I love.
That's what it was.
A little dessert after a meal. I mean, I'm a big. So really, just a couple hours ago, I mean, I smashed a Twix bar and a Crunch bar. But then like the Nerds clusters, love the Nerds clusters, love ice cream, all the stuff. And I do a good job of like, I don't just like live off the stuff, but I will, if I have a day where I'm like, you know what, I worked pretty hard today, I'll reward myself with a little scoop of ice cream at the end of it.
Yeah. I've heard stories about
cream and syrup and cherry.
I've heard stories about trainers like at the training table. One that was at Baylor before.
Yeah.
They had biscuits like on the menu for the football players, but it was like one of those things that was like a mind game. Like, we're going to have it there, but you can't take it. And so all these players got biscuits. And what he did was he licked his finger and he like smashed the biscuit like 1-to-1. Like, who else has a biscuit? I'm coming.
Yeah.
And then basically that was like, you get to run this off and you didn't get to eat it yet.
Yeah. No, I believe it.
Yeah.
Well, there's a table of candy over there. If you put a lot of hard work in today,
maybe not today. I didn't do enough not enough physical hard work.
Well, you wore your pads for 4 hours this morning.
We did. Was that different? Is that different than how things have been in the past?
Never before.
Yeah, I think that's for like I guess because y'all were doing photo shoots or stuff like that.
We did do the photo shoots, but I was down here talking to people and I was still in the full pads, and so I was kind of like.
Do you feel like you walk down here and your pads is not a game going on? It's like Halloween.
It was a little bit like that, and the other thing was in the back of my mind. It was like, I brought this suit, like hopefully I get to wear it at some point.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Man, it's great. It's fun to watch somebody as they mature throughout life, and what you've done as a football player, that's one thing, but what you've done also personally is great. Aranda said he brought up something. He saw an article about you and a girlfriend or something like that.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Yeah, didn't he say that? That Aranda said he was scrolling through something about Sawyer?
He was a single bachelor. Yeah, that you were like a bachelor out in the scene.
Oh, really? Yeah. Well, I don't know where that article. That's not true. I have an awesome girlfriend. Who, she's awesome. But I don't know where that came from.
Yeah.
I clearly haven't talked to Aranda about it. So.
Well, don't bring it up.
She's not going to watch this. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
We'll make sure not to clip this for social.
Hey, good to see you. Thanks for your time. We really appreciate it. Have a great rest of the day.
Yeah, thank you guys for having me.
Sawyer Robertson, quarterback at Baylor on 365 Sports.
Let Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction. With a team of 28 experienced agents who are excited about serving you, Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
Pizza, burgers, and Bears football. There's no place around Waco that serves them all other than Bubba's 33. Come show your green and gold and enjoy some of Waco's best food and beverages while watching your favorite team, the Bears. When real Bears fans get hungry, Bubba's 33 is the #1 spot for ice-cold drinks, hand-stretched, stone-baked pizzas, and bacon-infused burgers. Join us for indoor or patio dining. Bubba's 33, Waco's restaurant and proud supporter of Baylor Bears football. Sick 'em, Bears.
Don's Humidor, your home with a 48-foot walk-in humidor with the elite cigar brands from around the world, including the #1 cigar of the year, Aging Room Cuatro Nicaragua. Plus, they have the great brands like Macanudo and Artur Fuente, Rocky Patel, Aston, and so much more. CBD, great for sore muscles, aches and pains, sleep, Vita Dreams, and anxiety, mild depression, general health and wellness. Their staff very knowledgeable on the subject. Don's Humidor in the Townwest Shopping Center off Valley Mills in Waco.
Ready to take your business to the next level? Carrion Solutions has got you covered. We deliver world-class IT consulting, including Quest On Demand and Migration Manager, M365 and Exchange migrations, Active Directory assessments, security hardening, and Windows Server upgrades. Our experts specialize in consulting, monitoring, support, and managed IT services. We promise vision, professionalism, and unbeatable value. Satisfaction guaranteed. If you're not happy, we make it right. Remember the name Carrion Solutions. For more info, email sales@carrionsolutions.com or visit carrionsolutions.com. That's CARRION solutions.com. Carrion Solutions, IT success guaranteed.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be part of the Waco community. We're a small family business here in Central Texas. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important. And unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. And that's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through this difficult time. So if you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. You can schedule online in minutes at idealmri.com or call 833-IDEAL-MRI.
This is 365 Sports. Text us at 254-339-1122. The text line is sponsored by Riverbend's Liquor and Wine, with the most extensive variety of craft beer in Waco. A hidden gem on Lakeshore Drive and 19th Street.
Chris Klieman, head football coach at Kansas State, with us on 365 Sports. Man, it's always great to see you. Always great to hear from you, have you on the show. Always learn something. That's what it's all about, right, is learning something no matter what it is.
Yeah, I appreciate you having me. It's always fun to talk to you and talk a little football and talk a little other things other than football as well. So my pleasure to be with you guys.
So your football team, your program is consistent. They're good. You guys knock on the door. I know you want to get better and reach that next level. Why would this year be that year? Because of consistency or because of a couple other things?
I think it's because of guys that would put the team before themselves. that's who's going to be the two teams standing in December 6th. Honestly, there's a lot of really good, talented teams here. There's a ton of good quarterbacks in this league right now. It's loaded. So it's the team that can put the we before me, and that's the challenge for all of us, Coach.
Going to go back to Chris Klieman in just a moment, K-State football coach. We'll have him on. We have Joey McGuire around the corner, Brock Osweiler, ESPN, and more. Kalani Sitake, Dave Aranda, and here is Rich Clark, our great friend, college football playoff executive director, who we've had on since the day basically you were announced as the new guy. So, man, is there anything that gets people fired up more than trying to figure out what the heck you're trying to do as not you, but the college football playoff itself?
Trying to figure it out, but I will say we're making progress, right? It's not fast progress, but we're taking one step at a time. We're being real deliberate, but it is just it's moving, and we're going to get there. I promise.
How would you compare this because of your military experience? You have had serious conversations about many more serious things than the college football playoff.
Yes.
But it is warring factions, so to speak, people who don't have the same goals in mind. How would you compare it to that, and how do you use that experience in these things where you have to get people that are set in what they want to a compromise?
Right. No, Paul, that's a great question. So I will say one of the things that I can compare it most closely to is Congress, right? Because you have these leaders that have a responsibility to their membership or their constituents.
Right.
Yet they have to look out for the greater good of the country and the decisions that they make, but they can't forget about what they were actually voted into office to do. They were voted there to take care of their, as a congressman, their district, or as a senator, their state. But they have to look out for the country, and they took an oath to do that. I think our commissioners are in a similar situation. They are paid, they are hired to look out for their conference and make sure that they are representing their conference in the best interest of their conference, but they still have to look out for the greater good of college football and college athletics in general. So it's a hard position that they're in. I don't envy them, but I completely respect their position and understand it. So what we have to do is find the common ground, find those places that we can agree on and rest our laurels there and try to move it forward. And that's what we try to do.
Do you sense from your position how college football fans are concerned about those decisions, not just ADs and football coaches or even, you, but that they're concerned that there's a separation because of two conferences that are like the 800-pound gorillas. And one of their commissioners, Sankey, is very outspoken about who they are and what they are and who they are and what they do.
Right. No, I think people are concerned that there's a separation, but it kind of goes back to what I was saying. The separation is that they're looking out for their conferences, which are vastly different. I mean, all four of the A4 conferences are very different. Their interests are different, and what they're after is different. But in the end, they're working together. I mean, they do actually talk together. I know people may not believe that, but they're working together to try to get to a solution. And it's going to take some compromise because nobody's going to be completely happy when it's all done. But hopefully it'll be a situation that is right for college football and that we can move it forward.
Did it throw things not for a loop, but I would think that the Big 12 having one and then we're possibly with two, that's twice as many, the number, not as much. But when all of a sudden Brett Yormark at the Big 12 goes, no, let's do 5 and 11. Let's go make us earn it. Did that kind of change things a little bit?
Well, I think, it's another model, right, that was put on the table that I think some of the commissioners gravitated towards. The AQ model is still there. It's still on the table. It hasn't been taken off. So the way that it changed it is it puts something else out there for people to look at and to consider. And, I think until you have something different, because before it seemed like the AQ model was really the prevalent model. It was one that was on the table. Now you have another one. Mm-hmm. So it gives them something to talk about. It gives them something to look at to determine what are the benefits, what are the cons of each of these. And that helps the discussion to move forward so that they can look at, the good and the bad of each of them and figure out what do they like and what do they not like, move it forward.
The AQ is, I think it's maybe just as a fan, it's hard for me to wrap my head around like saying before it starts, we're going to have this many from each league because we don't know how the season's going to go.
Right.
And so while most of the time that might be how it happens, it would eliminate the chance for that magical season of chaos. Right.
Yeah.
To me. And that's why I like 5+11, just as a fan, be like, look, whatever happens. If one team gets 7, well, salute to them. They earned it. Like, good for you. That's I think how fans feel about it, how the commissioners feel about it. Again, that's the divide you also have to bridge as the director too.
Right. I think what the AQ model does is it brings some certainty.
Mm-hmm.
You talk about chaos. One of these models brings a lot of certainty, a lot of opportunity for planning in the regular season. The other model really does bring that chaos that a lot of us really like, that we like to see, in the last weeks of the season, what's going to happen here? Who's going to make it? Who's going to win? Who's going to lose? Who's going to step on their foot and not get in because they did something crazy in one of their last games? A lot of people like that, but sometimes certainty is where people gravitate towards. So I see why the AQ model is there, but I think that a lot of people gravitate towards the 5+11 just because of that chaos and that excitement that it could bring to the season.
I would compare it to, we could walk through the Louvre, we could walk through the Met, and somebody could be like, man, that Whistler's Mother is one heck of a painting,
right.
And it's it's a beautiful painting. It's there. It's that. And then I can turn the corner and be like, man, that Jackson Pollock
I knew you were going to say that. I knew you were going to say Jackson Pollock. I should have said it out loud.
That Jackson Pollock, I don't know what it is. It speaks to me because now there's chaos that goes on in college sports that is not beautiful. You deal with it every day. It's stressful. But there is a beauty to chaos when it comes to sports. There is a beauty to it that I think as a fan, I love. The unpredictability of it, that to me is what makes it great. And while it could, the nerve-wracking part of it, if you're a conference commissioner in one of those AQ leagues that's going to get 4, I get that. But that's also what makes it fun for us.
Yeah, great example. I think that says it perfectly. Mm-hmm. Some people like that Whistler's Mother. Some people like that Jackson Pollock. It depends on where you are. But, one of the things that I think is at the center of a lot of this is the selection committee, because some folks don't have the same amount of faith in the selection committee and what it does and what those folks who are in that room what they do to make the decisions that they make. But they also add to the human element of all of it, to the human part of what football is all about. And so there is a lot of chaos in the 5+11 because it does rely on the selection committee. It doesn't leave it to the automatic selection of those teams before any human even gets to look at it. So you're right. It's about a little bit of certainty, a little bit of structure that we all know what it's going to look like, to this chaotic, uncertain, who knows what's going to happen at the end of the season, who knows what single game might explode everything and change it. But that, it depends on what you like.
Was the rush to go from straight 12 to 16 because of money?
No, I think it was because of access, right? Each of the commissioners is trying to ensure that their conference has the best access to the playoff as they can. And obviously, if you have more teams that are involved, if you go to 16, you're opening that access up just a little bit more. Now, to your point, though, that does mean more money. But if you're a coach, you want a shot. Give me a shot. Let me have my opportunity to play. And I think that's really the big driver, is people want access. And so, we'll see how that lands. Is it going to be 12, 14, or 16? We're still working through that.
I think one of the things of the committee is people forget that you could look and so Brett Normark talked about earlier, that audit the standards and see okay, where are we where have we missed? Like where have we maybe leaned too much on history? Where did we not look deep enough before? And then you can revise those standards.
Right.
You can put more models. You can have, how many other like computer models you can put in to give some more data. There's an infinite number of things that you could do to fix the standards that they need to be fixed, or revise them in a way that makes it so, like, scheduling and all those things. So I think that's like saying the committee, like throwing the baby out with the bathwater. That's before we go to AQs. I would just like to see like, okay, let's see if we kind of tweak some things in the committee, if that does it. Cause I think that's a lot easier to do than revamping a whole thing.
I have a lot of faith in the selection committee, having sat through it all of last year, and actually sat through a couple of sessions the year before I started, just as sort of an introduction. But I have a lot of faith because they're a group of people that have a lot of integrity. They have a lot of data that they need to look at, and they watch a lot of football throughout the whole process. They really bring a great amount of expertise, a great amount of preparation to the table, and the discussions. Sometimes I'm sitting in that room just going, I can't believe I'm here listening to these people that have lived their lives in college athletics and football in particular, talk about the things at the level that they do. I mean, I've heard experts talk about things my whole life, my whole military career. They're as professional as it gets, and they take their job so very seriously, and they do check their egos at the door.
Does that then burn you when you hear people say they don't want to leave it to the committee?
Well, I understand what they're saying. There's a thought that you can have all the integrity and all the data that you want, but a human being just can't get it right. Back to your point, Paul. Yeah. It's like there's that chaos that a human being brings into a room like that. But that's kind of the beauty of it. And we don't want to go just to a computer model. We don't believe that that's the way to do it. We've done that before in the BCS, right? We had it as a computer model. People didn't like that. We brought human beings into the loop, and that's where we are. And we're trying to find that right balance. Let me tell you one funny thing. In the military, AI, unmanned vehicles, we have aircraft that are not piloted by people. They're piloted remotely. And one of the things that we know is that you can have all the AI you want, but war is a human endeavor, and you have to have a human in the loop to do that. You cannot leave that to a computer because it is a human endeavor. Football is a human endeavor. Ugh. You cannot leave that to a computer to determine what happens on the field and what actual people are doing. You need people to be involved in that to determine who's really the best and to understand what happened on the field.
Great analogies with your paintings and then with that too. Yeah.
We ought to write a book together.
Man, let's do it. No, I think that, like, again, you can have those computer models as guides, I think, to where you can, because you do need something that maybe helps you separate the minutia.
They're tools.
Like, it's tools. A tool. It shouldn't be, because the thing that the human has to do is when you have so many things, you're going to have, say you have 16 teams in the playoff. When you go to 16, there's likely going to be about 24 teams that might be able to make some sort of argument, right?
Yes.
So then the bottom four might be easy to whittle off most years. But it's that next four where you're going to be splitting hairs, especially with common opponents, where, like, okay, Michigan State beat them by 17, but they beat them by 22. Well, that's not really different.
Right.
That's a 3-score game. So because one was
weather could have been involved.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
So like
injuries.
You're hitting it all.
So like those, that's where the human has to come in and be like, look, they were playing in a foot of snow, and they still won by 3 scores.
Right.
Like, that means something.
That stuff matters.
Yeah.
And only a human can understand that and see that. A computer is not going to get that, right?
So if we did that, like, the thing people, they think, I know I've heard a lot of people say, we should just go back and dick the computer model. Like, oh, you want to be mad?
Yeah.
You'll be mad at C-3PO.
Yeah.
2008, there was controversy.
Another analogy. That's good. We have 3 now.
In 2008, there was they had that, and there still was a mass amount of controversy with Oklahoma and Texas and whoever else. So you were at Offutt Air Force Base. That's where I was born.
Really?
Yeah.
I was stationed there. That was my first flying assignment, was at Offutt Air Force Base. I was
so young,
Omaha.
but went by there, went up to watch Lincoln, watch Nebraska and Lincoln. Matt Rule set us up, and we went by there to the front entrance of Offutt. I saw that I thought I saw that before. Paulie's Barksdale. You was at Barksdale?
I was. We lived in Bossier City. I spent a lot of summers on Barksdale Air Force Base. Like when my mom was working, they would like rotate who had the kids.
No kidding.
Believe me. Yeah, I've gotten in some trouble at Barksdale Air Force Base.
Oh man. Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
I'll finish with this. I went down to San Antonio this past weekend. My dad was military, so I went to 3 high schools in 4 years.
Oh, man.
2 of them, Chofu High School in Yokota, the Air Force Base in Japan. Went there my freshman, sophomore, junior years, and I went down to a reunion. We don't have a class of 77 reunion. Military brats spread out all over the country. It's it's the class of 76 to 99.
Right.
That's one of the things. Where did you go to high school?
I went to high school in Richmond, Virginia.
Okay.
My parents weren't military, not military at all, but I grew up in Oakland, California in the Bay Area. Mm-hmm. And then my parents moved us to Richmond, Virginia back in 74. So it was quite the shift, from coast to coast.
Oh, my God, yeah. We live in – my dad was at the Pentagon. We were in Springfield, Virginia.
Oh, nice.
And not that far from when you got there in 74. Of course, that's way back. But
right.
I just love the fact your military background distinguished all the things you've done. And if one thing that, like Mac Rhodes –
yes.
We know Mac well.
Phenomenal.
I did ask him this. Did you lose a bet to have to be the spokesperson for the college football playoff? Because that person always takes the darts.
I know.
That's the one that takes the darts.
He is at the hot seat every week.
It's a dunk tank.
It is. It is. It totally is. Hey, but he is so good. I mean, he is so good.
He loves chaos.
He keeps his cool. Have you seen the shirts that he wears?
Oh, yeah.
They're chaos.
Yeah,
that's chaos right there.
Yeah,
but he's awesome.
He is a person that has gone to places like, for example, when he arrived at Baylor, there was chaos, and he kind of thrives on that. So I thought that he might do pretty well.
He will
doing this role for a couple of years.
He is excellent. He's just, I mean, the bottom line, if I was going to sum it up in one word, is leadership. He is just a great leader, and he is passionate about what we're doing. So he's just going to be great. I'm excited. Ward Manuel was fantastic, and Mac's going to take it and take it to the next level.
General, if it's okay if I call you that?
Rich, please call me Rich.
Rich
yes,
Clark.
I am retired.
Retired General Rich Clark with us, Executive Director, College Football Playoff Committee, and Brett Daniels. Appreciate Brett as always. Thanks for your time today.
Thank you, guys. Always good to be with you anytime, any day.
Yes, sir.
All right.
We'll be back in a moment. Brock Osweiler from ESPN and Joey McGuire around the corner on 365 Sports.
Allen Samuels House of Travel is a full-service travel agency with highly experienced travel consultants plus support staff with over a combined 150 years in the travel business. They are ready to take care of any travel situation for you, your family, and your business, and with the kind of knowledge to complete a seamless itinerary trip start to finish. They will search for the best deal to accommodate your budget from air to cars, ship to shore, hotel, and even meeting space. Name a destination and they've been there. They know the places to go, and international and missionary travel is one of their unique specialties. Allen Samuels House of Travel, celebrating 50 years in business. Call Connie, Sherry, Linda, or Bambi at 254-776-2560 or find them on Facebook or at houseoftravelwaco.com. Baylor Scott & White Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physicians for Baylor Athletics, diagnosing and treating all sports-related injuries, including concussions. These specialists also provide orthopedic services for athletes and non-athletes alike, whether it's knee or shoulder pain, a wrist injury, orthopedic spine care, and even an arthritis and total joint clinic. Trust the doctors Baylor Athletics trust. Baylor Scott & White Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics wants to get you back in the game.
With so many companies and policies out there, it gets so confusing shopping for insurance, and I never know if I'm getting the policy that's right for me. Luckily, I met the team at the Niche Group Insurance Agency. With the Niche Group, you can go to one company and get access to coverage options from many insurance carriers, and you get to speak to a real person about your specific coverage needs. With the Niche Group, I know I'm getting the right coverage at the right price. If you need insurance, talk to the experts at the Niche Group at 1-800-258-8302.
Established in 2007 and independently owned, Alliance Bank Central Texas is committed to helping families and businesses meet their financial goals. From their tellers to their board of directors, they know the importance of superior service and competitive products. Customers have confidence knowing that their financial needs are in good hands. It's your bank, Alliance Bank Central Texas, with 2 Waco locations, 4721 Bosque Boulevard and 191 Archway Drive on Highway 84, and at alliancebanktexas.com. Member FDIC and equal housing lender.
Want to send a message to the show? Jump in the Rudy's Country Store and Barbecue chat room.
We are back in Frisco, thanks to General Clark, your college football executive director. He was also at Randolph. So
Wow,
they kind of went through.
Did y'all fix the playoff? Did y'all fix the playoff?
Paul asked him about Jackson Pollock or something like that.
I told him that
the Whistler,
that 5 and 11 creates the beautiful chaos that we love, like a Jackson Pollock painting. Now, the Big Ten AQs, that's Whistler's mother. It's structured. It's what it is. But same museum, turn the corner, there's a Jackson Pollock, and there's something beautiful in that chaos. And that's what I think most fans want to see, is the chaos, and not, like he said, the certainty of before it starts 4-4-2-2-1. It's like outside of who it is. Big Ten is like, take that out of it. That to me is just boring to say that this is what's going to happen before you know. It could be anybody, but it's going to be 4-4. It's just not. That's boring. That's a boring way to do it.
He was very informative and kind of put things in perspective that sometimes we want it to be fixed immediately. He kind of wants a little bit of chaos.
Mm-hmm.
And the part about the A1 in the military, AI, excuse me, that's why
we're not going to, that can't, no.
That's a drop. Hey, can you knock that off social media too? So one of the things that he talked about was you have AI and you can fly these airplanes. But you don't want them to be the ones that when you're flying in what is a wartime situation, that they're the ones that make the decisions, because there's no that you need a human element involved, whether they make the right decision or not. You just can't. You can't do that. So, and the same thing with computers. A computer can't say, if Paul brought this up, you win by 16, you beat the same team, another team by 22. Might have been snowing. The starting quarterback was out. And sometimes computers don't know how to separate all that when it comes to crunching numbers.
So I think you should have a little bit of both.
Yeah.
I don't think it's feast or famine. Yeah.
He said the computer models, those things are tools. They're like what you use to sift through the minutia.
Yeah.
Which that helps you. Okay, well, this and this, and because you have to look at those things. But when it comes down to it at the end, somebody has to make a decision and say, okay, hey, no, this is why this happened, and this is why it's different. Because the computer doesn't know. The computer only knows what you tell it. By the way,
computers don't have emotions, do they?
Not yet. Not yet.
No, not yet, but getting there.
Yeah.
To all this new fancy A1.
Yeah.
All that steak sauce.
A1's the next
sauce.
part.
Yeah.
A1 is that's the next part.
Yeah. A1.
Guys, you're not going to let me forget that, are you?
No.
This is never good when you text somebody about an interview that you talked to them about earlier and they go, who's this?
Yeah, no, that's not good.
All right, well, okay.
You want to just go to Klieman?
Yeah, we were starting the Chris Klieman interview, and then because we got pushed back a little bit, Sawyer Robertson was incredible. I know, Craig, you were a part of that one. Here is Kansas State football coach back to getting him on where we need to, and here's Chris Klieman. Klieman, head football coach at Kansas State, with us on 365 Sports. Man, it's always great to see you. Always great to hear from you, have you on the show. Always learn something. That's what it's all about, right, is learning something no matter what it is.
Yeah, I appreciate you having me. It's always fun to talk to you and talk a little football and talk a little other things other than football as well. So my pleasure to be with you guys.
So your football team, your program is consistent. They're good. You guys knock on the door. I know you want to get better and reach that next level. Why would this year be that year? Because of consistency or because of a couple other things?
I think it's because of guys that would put the team before themselves. That's who's going to be the two teams standing in December 6th, honestly. There's a lot of really good, talented teams here. There's a ton of good quarterbacks in this league right now. It's loaded. So it's the team that can put the we before me, and that's the challenge for all of us coaches.
What is Avery Johnson year 3 now like compared to where he was the last couple of years?
Well, hopefully you guys can see it for starters, because he's about 18 pounds heavier, and he's got 15 pounds of lean muscle mass, and he's looking more like a grown man.
That's hair included, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, he's always had the great hair. He's got the body to match it.
Yeah.
And he's also was a true sophomore. Now he's an upperclassman, true junior, and he's got 13 more starts underneath his belt. And Avery's the biggest critic on himself, and that's the great thing about Avery is he looked at his poor plays more than he looked at his good plays this entire year. And he had some poor plays that ended up being good plays because of the type of athlete he is. But we're trying to keep him to take the layups when there's a layup, to stay in the pocket when you have a chance to run and get out of bounds and avoid that hit once in a while. But he's got, 13 more games under his belt. He's so much better pre-snap and post-snap because he's seen so much now. He spends a lot of time on it. That's one thing. That kid spends so much time watching film and taking care of himself.
We know that you mentioned the league and quarterbacks, and we know there's instances where schools have come calling, and then the portal and everything that is what it is. How much defense did you have to play, if any, this offseason? Did you have to play defense with a guy like Avery? Not that he's looking, but
no
that
doubt.
people are looking at him.
No, I think everybody in this league played a little bit of defense because of all the quarterbacks. The one thing I keep saying is they're all here. They all stayed.
You're right.
That's exactly right.
They all stayed, so it tells you they believe in their teammates, they believe in their coaching staff, they believe in the place they're at, they believe in the Big 12. I didn't have any deep conversations with Avery. I trust Avery, and I trust his family, and I trust his people that surround him, that Kansas State's the best spot for him. And I also would tell you, we surrounded him with better people this year. We have better wide receivers. We have a deep tight end room, as we always have. We've got better on defense. Now, if we can stay healthy, who knows? But I didn't have to go and say, hey, don't take this one. I think Avery knows his situation is really good here.
How much is it in the modern era, too, of finding that delicate balance of – because, guys, I mean, maybe with the house settlement, those things will balance out to where you can't just straight up money whip
Let's
a guy.
hope so.
But to be like, look, if you're going to get, X amount of dollars here, and you're going to get $20,000 more here.
Yeah.
Like $20,000 is not going to make or break you. Which place do you really want to be? Like, what's the best for you as a player? Not like, oh, they'll beat it by $50,000. Well, that'll last you about a year. You know, like you're not gonna change your life on that.
Yeah, and that's one of the things we're trying to get under control, because that you know that $50,000 isn't going to change your outlook. But if that agent's getting 20%, he can do that on 15 kids.
Yeah.
He just made himself a pretty good chunk of change. And so I think some of the guys listening to poor advice has led to poor decisions for the last couple of years. And we're trying like heck to get certified agents. We're getting Congress involved. I met with our senator. We're meeting with senators all over the place because we need help right now because we don't have a commissioner of college football.
Chris, the last time we talked with you, I believe, was during spring or wrapping it up or whatever. But the big you could feel it in your heart, the walk-on program, and how concerned you were. And at the time, we didn't know. Where is that now? And did they give a little bit that allows a K-State, Iowa State, and others to have what you need?
Yeah, not enough. We hope it changes back. We did not offer one walk-on kid this cycle. We had all these camps. We used to offer 15 of them. We didn't offer any. I hope it cycles back, and it's going to at some point, in the fact of with rosters as small as they are, with kids getting injured, with us still having a redshirt year, you're going to find somebody's going to back out of a bowl game because they don't have enough guys. Then there's a portal. We don't know when that portal is. We are fighting like heck to get 5 for 5 from an eligibility standpoint. I've got a 7th-year kid here with me. I've got a 6-year kid here with me. Awesome. They deserve it. They've earned it and that stuff. But if you're a junior college kid and you come into my office and say how many years you have left, I have no idea what to tell you. I can't even answer the question. If you transfer from Division II and you're only a sophomore, I don't know what to tell you because it's blanketed for a year. And then what does that mean? We've got to get this under control so that, these kids can play, but they can play 5 years. And in that way, none of us are worried about it's game 4. Okay, I'm going to be out of here. Unless my money goes up or unless something changes, I'm going to be out of here. Or the agent's going to tell them, okay, that you're good. Let's go to the next spot. I think we can get we got to get it where 5 years can play 5 years.
That seems to be one of the most simple rule changes that they could make. Like, there's not a lot of complexity to it.
No, and I think you hit it on the head when you say they can make. Who's they?
Well, exactly. Yeah. Who's it? Yeah,
who's? If that's all coaches, we're done right now. But we don't have the chalk last.
Mm-hmm.
We're the practitioners. We need to have the chalk last on this, and right now we don't. Whether it's the administrators, commissioners, presidents, Division I council that doesn't have a football coach on it. I don't know. That's something we're
There's
fighting
not a football
every day.
coach on the D1 council?
I don't believe there is. There's one on the football oversight committee. It's Brett Bielema, who does a great job. But on the oversight, I don't think there is.
That's crazy.
So while we're kind of talking some bigger picture things here, the Big 12's let it be known that they wanted to go with the 5-11 format.
Yep.
How much time did you spend thinking about this? And what was basically what you boiled it down to?
A lot of time we spent on it, and we spent a lot of time in May in Orlando about it. Because until we can get uniformity in the scheduling of conference games, there's no reason to do AQs. We have the best opportunity in the Big 12 if there's 5 AQs and get the 11 best football teams, because the narrative is records. Well, if we got to play an FCS team on November 14th, we'd all have another win too. We just don't have that, and so we've got to get uniformity to the amount of conference games everybody plays. But I like the 5-11 because you got to play every week this way.
That's the 1 week a year, though, that the SEC doesn't talk about itself.
I didn't say any league.
You said that.
I said
You
that.
didn't say it. Yeah.
I said that.
That's like me telling Frost he said his roster's loaded. It's not. Yeah.
Sometimes you just want a visual reaction.
Yeah. Yeah, but you don't know. Him at the poker table, that's a bad deal.
Yeah, exactly. So, but you guys have been, because you are a smaller Midwestern school, and you have to maybe work harder to tell your story, there does need to be uniformity. The committee needs a sheet that says, here's how we weight the strength of schedule. Here's what it is. And it has nothing to do with last year. It has to do with who did they beat this year? How good was that team this year? And not, did you happen to schedule Notre Dame 4 years ago and now Notre Dame's not good, but it's still Notre Dame.
We need to have the polls come out the same time the CFP, never before.
Exactly.
Man, I totally agree.
There's another thing that makes sense.
As coaches, we said we will not do a coaches poll when we were down in May, and we were like, sorry, ADs, we're not doing it. They agreed. But we should not have any of these polls come out until CFP does.
Chris, appreciate your time.
Absolutely,
Great
guys.
to see you as always, and we look forward to having you on sometime during the season, too.
Awesome.
Thank you. Chris
We'll do
Klieman,
it. Appreciate it. Thanks,
head
guys.
football coach at Kansas State with us on 365 Sports.
Automatic Chef is your local vending, office coffee, and micro market provider, delivering outstanding service to break rooms all over Central Texas for over 50 years. Automatic Chef brings the best products to your location at the best prices. With hundreds of choices in fresh food, coffee, snacks, and drinks, let Automatic Chef tailor a break room solution to your needs. Make break time great again with Automatic Chef. Automatic Chef Canteen, 6900 Imperial Drive in Waco, or online at automaticchef.com.
Baylor alumni are more than 160,000 strong. When we all join hands to support our university, we don't just move the needle, we move mountains. Working together, we create life-changing opportunities for students on the field, in the classroom, in the laboratory, and in life for generations to come. So get connected, get involved. Learn how at baylor.edu/alumni.
There are 26 letters in the alphabet, over 600,000 words in the dictionary, and just 3 of them said together can change everything. Let's order pizza. Those 3 words lead to dough made from scratch and 3 fresh signature cheeses that blanket golden crust in a heavenly melt on Marco's Pizza that'll blow your mind. So visit marcos.com to order and stop by Marco's Pizza in Belmead, China Spring, Woodway, and in Robinson. Marco's. Pizza lovers get it.
Penny Clinic Men's Healthcare in Woodway is now proud to offer you men an exceptional weight management body sculpting product called semaglutide, also known as Ozempic or Wegovy. Semaglutide is an FDA-approved weight management medication. Once-a-week injections of this powerful medication offers an average body fat weight loss of 20% within the first year of treatment. In addition to body sculpting, semaglutide also normalizes blood sugars and has the clinical research proof of reducing blood pressure, cholesterol, stroke, and heart attack risk. If you're like most men and you have stubborn fat that will just not respond to typical diets and exercise, then help us finally hear. Semaglutide, affordable, highly effective. Google search Penny Clinic Waco and reach out to the Penny Clinic team today for a free consultation with Dr. Penny to see if semaglutide is right for you. Go to pennycliniclowt.com.
This is 365 Sports. Enjoying the show? Hit the like button and subscribe.
I have not gone in the chat much. Some days I probably wish I didn't, but seriously, they're viewers, and we appreciate all of you. A lot of new names today, too. Brock Osweiler from ESPN and former Arizona State quarterback in a moment. Going to be way deeper this year on the offensive line, Kansas State. We just had, of course, Chris Klieman. And Cats are my pick. If Avery and the defense take the next step. Avery with another year under his belt, which Klieman discussed. And the defense, I can always think of the K-State defense is pretty solid in foundation.
By the way, Avery Johnson wearing his light purple suit.
Yes.
Out here, I mean, looks like those alternate jerseys they had. Sawyer Robertson, all green.
It's called lavender.
Lavender, thank you. Lavender, yes.
That's a beautiful color.
Yeah. It smells great, too. But, I mean, I don't know about Avery Johnson, but actual lavender does.
I was like, I didn't get close enough to him, I guess.
I mean, I'm sure he does. I'm sure. Listen.
You know, at night I spray lavender mist around my pillows.
Yeah, see, that's supposed to help you relax.
Yeah.
Maybe if Avery Johnson came over here, we'll get a whiff. I don't know. He hasn't been here. I don't want to smell him, but if he is, I mean, I'm not going to.
18 pounds?
Yeah.
You can see it in his upper body, his shoulders.
Yeah.
You can see that.
Yeah, he's not as spindly.
No, he was. I'm not saying he was thin.
No.
Because he's a hell of a player.
Wiry.
Wiry's a good word. Strong. Yeah. So I put up video this morning before we even started our first interview, which was with Kenny Dillingham, and they're doing that game. What's the game where they throw the bean bags?
Cornhole.
And Avery Johnson's over there, and he's not doing very well. And I put the video up, and I said he's always competing, and it's amazing what social media will do. Oh, look, he missed a throw. And then of all people, a guy gets on there and goes, he's not very good. It was a Tech fan, and how many touchdowns did he run against them? Like 5 or 6 in one game?
Yeah. Look, if he could run the beanbag over there, nobody would stop him.
Yeah. Yep.
So just a typical social media thing that I thought was I thought it was pretty interesting.
Yeah, no, he looks more filled out. Definitely looks the part of a star quarterback if you want to look at it that way. And got beanbags picked off a couple times. No, I'm just kidding. That didn't happen. But yeah, he's here representing and has a cool suit. And Sawyer did his thing with the Bather green. And I don't know if there's any others that have really done more of the non-traditional kind of gone the school color route. But those two look sharp. And I think he's got a huge year ahead of him. There's a lot of people that feel like K-State's the favorite. And I think there's every reason to believe, and Chris Klieman didn't make me think anything other than, they expect to be really good. They expect him to be better. They expect the pieces around him, I think, most importantly, to be even better as well. And they've given him a really good supporting cast and tight ends, like we talked about the other day with the K-State analyst. I mean, everybody's talking about the 5-star tight end Lincoln Cure, and he's like the 4th guy on the depth chart right now. That's how loaded their tight end room is. Yep. So he's going to have a lot of toys to play with, and I think that's exciting for K-State fans.
Here's Bracket Cat. I love that Klieman called out the SEC BS of playing those FCS games in November.
Well, he didn't say that. Paul said that.
No, Klieman said
Paul,
we
are you
don't.
trying to get Klieman?
No, what Klieman said was we don't get to play an FCS team on November 14th.
And then he went wink, wink, and then Paul said the SEC, and
I know. Then I took a direction. Listen, he set me up. I skated down the ice and took the shot.
Yeah, he's right though. I mean, I think that's a valid complaint. I mean, you can. I don't want to get bogged down in this.
No,
but like it's a valid. You play one less game. Okay, that's not enough, and you also play a late season game where it's a gimme when it's crunch time, and so like it's not just one thing. It's a couple of different things that can add up and shift the schedule to where you've got 12 teams going bowling versus 9, and there's a big difference there, especially when you're using that kind of thing to pump yourself up for future things.
Yeah.
And so I think that's a valid complaint that people have had for a very long time about that league having that late season game. That's the sort of give me. But he tried to play it as politically correct as he could initially.
And look, it just needs to be part of the larger conversation of if we're making schedules equitable, that's something that needs to be talked about. Look, the SEC is not the only one who does that. The ACC, who mirrors almost everything the SEC does it as well. But nobody talks about them because they don't, and probably because they don't talk about themselves enough. I was on with Memphis earlier, and they asked me about Brett Yormark, and I said, the SEC is very good at two things: winning football games and then telling people about how they won those football games. And I'm not saying that's a dig. They're very good at it. They spent years telling their story. The Big 12, we complain about it forever. Like, hey, don't just sit back and say oh, well, you're right. Tell your story a little bit better. They were really terrible at telling their story. They had terrible slogans. Every game matters, and all the whatever it was.
Both teams had fun.
They just
one true champion.
Yeah, one true champion. All those things. They were really bad at it. The SEC's been better at that than they were. So what Brett Yormark has been better at doing is telling the story of this conference, and that's
no question.
And that's what you need to do. Look, the SEC hasn't lied about anything. I don't think. I mean, they can propagandize, but they didn't. It's not like they can make something up. Hey, we also beat the Patriots in 2007. No, it's not how it is. They just know how to tell their story much better than everybody else does. And so that's where.
And not only do they tell the story, they always seem to have a really successful last chapter of the story.
Yeah.
They can back it up.
Yeah, they've been able to back it up, and they've told that story very well. And the Big 12, the ACC is that's what Jim Phillips needs to do better is, hey, part of the reason that Florida State got left out because one player got injured was because you didn't really tell the story that well. You just assumed that people would jump on board with you. And Greg Sankey was out there telling the story. And you were just like, no, it'll be fine. It's good.
Well, you thought it would be fine because
it should, but
the story that he was telling on the network that also has a lot of interest in the ACC.
Yeah, I know.
So you think that they're talking about, they're clearly going to pump us up too. We're also one of their teams. No, it wasn't quite that way, but enough about them. I think he had a nice little dig there, and it landed where it was supposed to. But yeah, it's a league that I think is kind of tired of being disrespected, and they finally have a guy in charge who's not going to just sit there and lay down for anybody. They're going to not sit there and try to throw punches, but they're going to try to be as much of an attacker as they can be to go and get the things done and the things accomplished that they can to better the conference. So I like that Yormark's aggressive in that way. Not every idea is going to land, but I think a lot of ideas eventually you're going to land on some that do work, and it's better than the alternative of doing nothing and just sitting there and taking what people tell you your perception is.
Yeah, I think that's right. And what's the whole thing of all of this, and I just mentioned this in the chat room, is the passion of college football, the history, the traditions, the passion of it, and the reason we have it, the reason we're here. And Brock Osweiler, ESPN, former Arizona State quarterback, is here. Anything better than just the word passion when it comes to college football?
Oh, is it not the best? It's just the absolute best. And to be here at Big 12 Media Days and get this started, you know what it means. It means the football season's right around the corner.
Right.
And it's just the best time of year. When that first game finally kicks, what is it, week 0, Iowa State, Kansas State on ESPN. It's going to be fantastic.
Do you get to go do that one there in Ireland? Would you like to go do that one? Can you get your way over there?
We do not request games. We're told not to do that. We just wait for our assignment. But I would do that game in a heartbeat. I think that'd be a ton of fun.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. You're probably not Irish, but you could say that they would read me a lot from my Irish roots.
I think they'd take me, and I'd find a way to
do a 23andMe. There's got to be something in there. Brock,
percentage, small percentage.
Brock, this your alma mater won this league last year, and no one thought they would. And due in large part to the fact that Kenny Dillingham was everybody, like, people knew about Kenny Dillingham, but he never, had that opportunity. Yeah. What did you see from him last year that really enabled him to announce himself and the Sun Devils on the scene?
Well, I think the biggest thing, and I don't know if he sat down with you guys today.
This morning.
Oh, yeah. Good. Okay, so you guys saw it up close and personal, and then you see him on the stage and then on the panel with us at ESPN. The energy that he brings with him, that's real. That is who he is 365 days a year. And so, that is authentic Kenny Dillingham. And so, when you think back to where Arizona State was when he took it over, it was in a dark place. So it was going to take energy like Coach has to be able to get that thing going. And, I just think he's created such a unique culture in Tempe, a culture that the players can buy into. He said earlier, I don't need to recruit players. He said the players recruit themselves. And once they're here, they stay here. And he's not saying it in an arrogant way. It's the culture. And what he's saying is the current players on the roster are having so much fun. They're getting coached so well. They're competing day in and day out that they're calling other high school guys and portal guys and say, hey, you want to be a part of this. You want to come here. And then once they're there, they're bought in and sold. And so, he's a very unique guy. I think a lot is brought up about his age, but at the end of the day, the energy that he brings and the coaching staff that he has surrounded himself with. Coach is the first one. If he doesn't know something, he'll say, hey, I don't know it, but I'm going to find somebody who does. So he brought in two fantastic coordinators, Marcus Arroyo on the offensive side of the ball, lots of experience in the NFL, Oregon with Justin Herbert. They lit up the skies. And then Brian Ward on defense. Ton of success, and then we have guys like Hines Ward as the wide receiver coach. So I just think he's surrounded himself with a great staff. He's created belief, he's created culture, and it's going to be exciting to see if it can be sustained.
What do you think about this league's quarterbacks? I mean, from Brendan Sorsby out of here earlier, Sawyer Robertson, you got Avery Johnson. Tomorrow there'll be a boatload of guys as well. I mean, I think that's kind of the storyline, right? When you first think of the Big 12 in 2025, is it the quarterbacks in your mind?
Yeah, it's elite. It really is, and it's super exciting. Just getting ready for Big 12 Media Days, and you start watching film again, and you get back into the swing of things. There's a half dozen guys that have a great chance to be drafted and play on Sundays in the NFL.
I didn't even say Sam Levitt's name, did I?
No, trust me. Like, I get going down the list, and you get to 6 and 7, you're like, well, I know there's 8, 9, 10 guys.
Yep.
I think the thing that's so exciting about that, though, when you turn on Big 12 football this year, you're going to be entertained because there's good quarterback play. We all the guys that and gals that are junkies and just, consume this sport and watch every game, we all know the game is better if you have good quarterback play. And the Big 12 has no shortage of that. So it's certainly the year of the quarterback. And the thing is, it's not potential. It's proven guys. You have guys like, I think about like Rocco Beck. Mm-hmm. He's been a starter now. He's going on year 3. He's thrown for over 3,000 yards, back-to-back seasons, over 20 touchdowns. No one's talking about Rocco Beck. Because there's Sam Levitt, there's Sawyer Robertson, there's Baron Morton. What does he do at Tech this year? There's Josh Hoover right down the street at TCU. It's exciting.
When you look at some of those, like, Sam Levitt gets the attention because he was in the playoff last year. But, you've got guys who haven't hit their potential yet. Avery Johnson is, it's the highest ranked recruits that Kansas State's ever had in their whole history. Yep. And he's in his 3rd year there. They have not been able to get like people out of the Big 12 to go in the portal and switch leagues. It means something that they're staying, doesn't it?
I think it says a lot. I'm really glad you brought up that point because all those quarterbacks we've just mentioned, they got phone calls.
They got big phone calls. I would like to see the list of how many of them that Tennessee didn't call after Nico.
Goodness.
Like, who did they not get around to?
Yeah, Notre Dame. I mean, we can go down the list. There were some big phone calls made, and you're right. It says a lot about what this conference means to players, and why this conference is so special. I love that you mentioned the potential of Avery Johnson. You know, let's not forget this time last year, and we were probably putting too much pressure on him, but the media was saying, hey, this guy's a dark horse to win the Heisman. Well, we all can see the potential in Avery Johnson. When he's good, he's as good as anybody in the country. But there's been some issues with inconsistencies in the pass game. If he improved upon that in the offseason, improves his completion percentage, cuts down on turnovers, starts making the routine throws on first and second down, sky's the limit for this kid. I mean, he's a phenomenal athlete. He's got a great swagger about him today out here in the purple suit.
Yep.
Drives a purple Corvette. What's not to love about that? So Big 12 is very exciting.
And then that doesn't include Wigman at Houston, Caden Salter, who has played well at Liberty, at Colorado. It's loaded. How do you describe the Big 12 when it comes to the pecking order? Yes, there are two conferences, and the Big Ten's won 2 in a row. The SEC has bucket loads of championships. Is it a competitive league top to bottom? That's what makes it difficult, but there are no logos and alpha dogs or blue bloods. Does that hurt them?
You know, it certainly does, you know, and that's been a big conversation today here at Media Days is how many teams are getting into the playoff, you know, and I think that blue blood thing matters and the big brands matter. But I'll say this, college football as of July 1st is going a direction that it's never been before. Every school, if they want to, can now pay their players a little over $20 million. So think about that. It is in a lot of ways, whether you like it or not, it is now the National Football League. Okay, in the National Football League, there are rules on how many players you can have on your roster. Guess what? That's what college football is now. In the National Football League, there is rules on how much money you can spend on that roster every year. Well, that's what college football just did on July 1st. So, you know, when you talk about the blue bloods of the sport and the history and the tradition, I think Alabama, I think Texas, I think Ohio State, Michigan, we all know those schools. Does that remain? Or is there a changing of the guard? Who says Texas Tech? We all know what they just did with their blank check in the offseason. Why aren't they the next blue blood? I don't know.
Well, I think,
or Arizona State. Look at what they're doing. Well, wouldn't you want to go to Tempe if you're a 5-star player?
Or if I was just anybody.
And you get to play for Coach Dillingham. You saw the energy and the authenticity and how much you get, like, so why not?
You know, we were there when we were Super Bowl in Phoenix a couple years ago. We went to see Bert Kreischer at on campus there at Arizona State.
I was there too.
Oh yeah, So great show. Great show. Yeah, but so we're there and like we walk onto campus. It wasn't my first time because we had been covering stuff before and I'd seen Sun Devil Stadium and Camelback Mountain, like all those cool things that they have there, but walking onto that campus, it's just an awesome campus. Yeah. And for years, and I'm sure you felt this maybe a little bit even when you were playing there, they were trying to get out of their image as the safety school, the Pac-12. That was the knock, right? Yeah. But it also then they kind of ignored athletics to their detriment. And that's a place where if you turn the faucet on, people will come because it's a great place to be.
We have the largest alumni base in the world. Think about that. So now if you get the alumni base behind the program, you just got academics behind it. There's been a whole kind of convergence of, they were always divided. There was athletics and there's academics. Well, now you take the power and the financial power of they've merged. Okay, now you got this whole salary cap deal. There's so many things going in favor, and then you have a guy like Kenny Dillingham. But I don't want to talk just about Arizona State because that is where I played. There's other schools out there. You once again look at what Texas Tech is doing. You think about other schools, TCU, like you're in the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex. Like think about what you can do with recruiting. Houston, what can you do with recruiting? And you talk about big donors behind programs and, Houston's building a beautiful facility. So
have you done a game at UCF at the Bounce House?
I have. I've been to the Bounce House.
I mean, you were talking about atmosphere.
Are there good players that come out of the state of Florida?
Yeah.
What can they maybe do now? So if you think about it, if I'm a 5-star player and UCF can pay me maybe a little bit more than Florida's offering me, and you maybe have a great connection with Scott Frost, Well, maybe do you go to UCF?
Where before that might not have been in the discussion.
It never would happen. Yeah. It would never happen because you're going to go to the place that you absolutely know you have a chance to compete for a national title and get to the NFL.
Well, doesn't it also make you like, again, because the money can be about the same and like you might be able to go a little bit more, but it doesn't can maybe allow you to go like, okay, where do I really love? Like, am I going to Gainesville because I think I can maybe make more money if I'm good there as opposed to Orlando where I'm kind of I'll be fine, but I'm not like, but now it maybe makes you go like, you know what? I like Scott Frost better. That's what I'm going to do.
And to your point also, those are all great points. Where am I going to play? Yeah. Am I going to go to Alabama and get buried on a depth chart, which is in the old way of college football, that was fine. And then, maybe your redshirt junior year or redshirt senior year, you become a starter and you still go to the NFL. Where now, I mean, because it's the level playing field, because everybody has the right to pay the same amount, you're going to potentially consider going to another great situation, but getting on the field as a redshirt freshman or a redshirt sophomore. I don't know. I'm just saying we're headed into a place in college football that we've never been before because of the roster caps and because of the salary cap.
If the big if being if they actually enforce things, right? That's the whole key to everything.
Because there's still the NIL component over here on the side, and you heard all the coaches talk about that today too. So, but then
But we have fingers crossed that we're just going to believe it until it,
and we've come this far, so why not get it to that point?
Right.
Why not just, you'll have some people argue a different way, this and the other, but to me, the NFL looks like a pretty darn good model. Seems like that league's growing, the viewership, it's just time to model it.
Well, and look, find out, tell the people what fair market value is. Tell them that so that when somebody goes there, you can't just say, well, all right, well, we're giving him $1 million, and then he may never play because you're giving him $1 million because you have it and it doesn't work out.
What is the fair market value for an 18-year-old quarterback that's never played a snap in college football, but he's a 5-star because one publication says that?
Yeah.
Well, where's the book that says that? There isn't one. So to your point, it still is, there's some murky waters. I don't know. I think we all know some solutions if you just look up one league and see what they're doing, but we'll see if we get there.
Speaking of which, everybody still gets paid. Everybody still gets paid.
You were a basketball and football star at Montana. How did they find you? What did you have to go? Did you pretty good?
Yeah.
And you ended up playing in the NFL, Super Bowl active, all that. Yeah. But how did they find you?
Yeah, old school. I made my own highlight tapes. I wrote letters to coaches, packed them up in the mail, and mailed them.
No kidding.
I didn't go to any camps, nothing like that. But going to Arizona State, and I don't think I sent them a letter and a tape, but Dennis Erickson's best friend happened to live in Great Falls, Montana at the time.
Wow.
I played a road game in high school in Great Falls. And after the game, supposedly he called Coach Erickson and said, hey, you need to come see this kid in Montana.
Great story. So, thank you.
Old school.
What was he like, Coach Erickson?
The best.
He legend at Miami.
You need to get him on the headset.
I would love to.
And he will tell you stories.
Challenge accepted.
He will keep you entertained for hours. He's the best.
Yeah.
Thank you, man. Great to see you. Good luck to the football season, the broadcast, and everything else. Thank you, Brock. Brock Osweiler with us, ESPN in Frisco, Big 12 Media Days.
In our logo and advertising, we say we are people that you can count on. What does that mean? It starts with providing a quality vehicle and quality service at a fair price. But it also means we do what we say we will do, and we treat people fairly with respect. It starts by hiring great people, good local folks who work hard with a caring attitude. Our employees are the real reason we are people that you can count on. Put us to the test and see for yourself that at Richard Carr Motors, we are people you can count on.
Parenting is full of surprises.
You never know what to expect.
So after our son was born, I called my Texas Farm Bureau insurance agent to set up a life insurance policy in case something happened to me.
Sawyer is now 2.
And we'll soon have a sister. There's no one else I would trust with protecting my family.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
Developed by Startup Waco, a nonprofit organization, GXG is a program designed to support the entrepreneurial development of Baylor University student athletes through NIL activations. The program helps student athletes maximize their platforms and offers a comprehensive support system for them to create and grow new businesses that not only benefit themselves, but also uplift the local economy. Fans who wish to support student athletes can donate to GXG via the GXG NIL Fund, BaylorBears.com/GXG. Contributions to support NIL activations through GXG can be made at BaylorBears.com/GXG. For more information, follow @GXG_GreenXGold on social media and visit the official website www.gxg.startupwaco.com. GXG, empowering student-athlete entrepreneurship and uplifting the local economy through NIL activations.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine now has 2 locations to serve you. The original on Lakeshore Drive at North 19th Street and the brand new spot in downtown Waco at 600 Franklin Avenue. If you're looking for the best in craft beers or local Texas bourbons, then the original is the place to be. And for the latest trends and online phenomenons, head downtown to the Franklin location. Either way, you're going to get the same great variety, customer service, and speedy experience. Check out both locations on their Facebook and Instagram pages, Riverbend Liquor and Wine, Lakeshore Drive at North 19th Street, and now downtown on Franklin Avenue.
This is Craig Smoak's Off the Radar, presented by Alliance Bank. They take pride in making banking easy. AllianceBankTexas.com.
No Off the Radar on the show today, but we do have us. We're here. We've been here since, 7 o'clock this morning inside the Star, the co-pilot, Microsoft co-pilot, Big 12 Media Days going on. Joey McGuire will join us next on 365 Sports. Brock Osweiler's really good.
Yeah, it was really good. And it was nice to see another tall guy like me.
Yeah.
He's a foot taller than me. A foot!
Yeah.
Paul, I think
a foot. He's at least a
14
foot.
inches.
Maybe. I don't know. I'm not going to deny. If you told me he was 2 feet taller than me, I'd believe you.
He's a tall drink of water, no question.
I mean, 5'7" sucks, man.
So that's it. That goes to show you, though. He played high school ball in Kalispell, Montana.
Yeah.
And someone found it.
Look, I'll tell you this. At 5'7", he's not coming to recruit me unless, like, he's 5'7", but he runs a 4.3, which that did not happen.
No.
So there's no way I could have ever had that life.
What's up, Coach?
How's it going, guys? If you run a 4.3, I'm in, man.
Man.
Yeah.
Have you ever recruited a player or seen a player or someone recommended a player and you go, there's no damn way, but something made you go, no, we're going to give him a shot? I mean, isn't that the whole key, the science of recruiting?
Yeah, it really is. It's, there's some guys. I heard Kirby Smart say you can take a 5-star guy and spend 7 plays knowing, that's, what it really looks like, those elite level guys. But I think there is parts of it like, man, I really want to coach that guy. I really want this guy on our team for a lot of different reasons. We actually have a guy like that's part of this class that I can't talk about that, is a guy that I really want to coach and has some stuff that I think just it shows up on film, but it also is going to show up at the college level.
You've seen that movie Trouble with the Curve with Clint Eastwood?
Oh, yeah.
So it's like
one of my favorites.
Yeah. He knew that the pitcher was good because of the way the ball sounded when it hit the glove.
Yeah.
Nobody else could see it, but he could.
Yeah.
Is that kind of joy, though, of finding that diamond in the rough and like, man, he's little, or he's still awkward, but then you see him throw or you see him run and you see him tackle and you're like, oh, he just hadn't been taught what he can do yet.
Yeah, I mean, just as far as like how he can be developed, and I mean, a perfect example of a really good Baylor Bear that had a heck of a career stint in the NFL is JT Woods. Mm-hmm. JT was not a highly recruited guy. I don't know how many stars he had, but not only was he not a highly recruited guy, but we recruited him to play defense, and he was an offensive player. He played wide receiver, and he was a guy that he was very extremely intelligent, had a very high football IQ, and had an extremely high work ethic, and just kept getting better and better and better and better. They win the Big 12, and he gets drafted, I think, in the 4th round by the Chargers. And a guy like that, I mean, yes, did he have the length, but man, who would have thought that a guy that
he was spindly though? Like
no doubt.
You wouldn't look at him and go like, "Oh, this guy's going to run down."
Yeah,
cover wide receivers. You would have thought like, "Yeah, it was not that at all."
Yeah.
So, Coach, quiet off season.
Man,
not a lot of talk.
actions whatsoever.
Not a lot of talk about Texas Tech. No, in all seriousness, the spotlight's as bright as I can remember it being on Lubbock and maybe ever.
Yeah.
Just what's it kind of been like from your perspective? I mean, obviously a lot of attention, but with that comes expectations and but also excitement. So how have you kind of just, I guess, dealt with everything that's been coming y'all's way over the last few months?
Yeah. It's perspective. I had a good friend of mine, Jack Richards. He's a Red Raider, and his son was a great player at South Lake Carroll and then played for Texas Tech. And he sent me a text about a month ago, and he said, pressure versus opportunity is all perspective. You realize there is some pressure, but there is such a great opportunity. And, I've said this all day, and I'm going to say it again. I'd rather be in this seat from the standpoint of saying that we really believe that we have a good roster, that we're extremely deep, and now the pressure is on the coaches for us to bring this team together and get it right versus, man, our roster is, man, we're maybe one deep. Oh, my gosh, who's going to play this position? Oh, if we get somebody hurt here, pray to God that can we win 4 games? Can we win 5 games if everything goes right? I'd rather be in this position than that position. And so it's all amount of perspective of what you're looking at, and then I'm also excited because I do feel like that we've done some really good things and we've been extremely aggressive. And when you do that, people are going to talk about it. I imagine a lot of people are going to have us circled. But I also have said this all day. Arizona State's almost bringing back their entire team that won the Big 12 championship. All Klieman does is win 9 or more games. Baylor's bringing back one of the best offenses in the country, almost the entire offense. We're not the only ones that expectation is pressure's on. We just done it a different way to where it's louder.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it is what it is. But, if you're sitting there and you're not thinking that there's a chip on Leopold's shoulder at Kansas after thinking, they won 9 games 2 years ago and then they had such a bad start. Everybody was talking they were about to take their step. If he doesn't feel pressure, I mean, I think there's a lot of pressure on a lot of people. And whenever you look at it, if there's going to be pressure on you, at least you have the bullets in the gun to go fight the good fight in games that you have good players to go play with.
I know you can't talk names, but you're pissing off a lot of people. You know that. I didn't know how. Yeah, I've known you a lot. I think I could ask you that.
Right.
Is it because Texas Tech's not supposed to do that, or because others are so used to always getting what they want?
I think it's the second part and a little bit of the first. I've seen it happen in this state. And I was a part of the end of results that began Matt Rule's career. But, there's things that happen at different places that you're like, hey, that's not supposed to happen.
Yep.
And how can we figure out for that not to happen? I think we have pissed a lot of people off. I'll tell you, we've done it the right way. I mean, the one thing that we've done is we've played within the rules. We've just used the rules out of both worlds. We used the rules in the NIL very aggressively, and then we paired it with the rules that are going on in rev sharing. So we were very aggressive. It's almost a year out that we began that plan. That plan started in July last year in Kirby Holcutt's office with Cody Campbell, leading the charge and saying, hey, this is what's about to happen. These two worlds are going to collide, and we can take advantage of it. So whenever they do collide, let's be in the spot that we're aggressive and take advantage of it. But I think we have a lot of people pissed off because, I don't necessarily, it could be the schools, but I think it's more fan bases of like, hold on, Tech's getting that guy. They're not supposed to get that guy, stuff like that. And it's happened in this conference. I mean, not this conference, in this conference, but it's happened in different universities before that, hey, they weren't supposed to win at that level and they weren't supposed to beat the so-called blue bloods year after year. And why did this coach ever turn that job down to stay where he was at? I've got a lot of stuff reading between the lines, but I know this group right here can read between the lines of what I'm talking about.
I think one of the best things for, especially schools in the Big 12, this new Big 12, that we're kind of judged in the middle of everybody, is that for all the chaos and the crazy things that you guys have to deal with right now, the best part that coming out of it is that a Texas Tech can finally say, why not us? Yeah. And then no one can give them an answer. Like before they say, why not us? And this is because we won't let you. Yeah. Well, now you can't do anything about it. Like now, we've decided that we're going to make this investment in our athletic program.
I may give you a hug after this is over because that's where we're at right now. The first phase of June was no excuses. The second phase right now that we're in is why not us?
Well, I mean, there's no reason, and everybody should have that.
Yeah.
Of if you're willing to make the investment, which clearly you are in Lubbock,
right?
Then why not us?
Right.
Yeah.
And that's it. I understand how important this year is for this year. But it's also important for the years to come for us to have a really good year and go make a mark, because then it continues you cannot say, well, don't go to Lubbock because they don't have great facilities. Our recruits will laugh at you if you make that statement. You can't say don't go to Lubbock because they're not sharing revenue at the highest level. What do you say? They haven't won the Big 12. Or they haven't been in the championship. We haven't. And so it's really important that we do that to try to eliminate that too, for us to take the next step. I get that. It goes back to the pressure of what this year is all about.
And you guys have an airport too, right?
We do, man.
Yeah, see, there we go. So, the other thing was, if you want to get away for a weekend, well, now these kids have money. They can afford a flight.
No doubt.
No doubt. Every excuse that's ever been about Lubbock, other than, and what none of them say, Craig said this a bunch, is it's a great college town. It's a fantastic college town.
It's a great college town. The food is absolutely incredible. It's a great place to live. And, man, it is. Everything is built around that university. Mm-hmm. Anywhere you go, any restaurant you go into, you're going to see the double T. And if you're not wearing that logo, you're going to get called out for it. Mm-hmm. And they're not going to be shy about it. It's a great place to be. And that's the one thing we're trying to take those, eliminate as many excuses as possible.
Joey McGuire, Texas Tech football coach, with us here in Frisco on 365 Sports. They're partying like it's 1995. Barbados.
Yeah.
You guys always have, Debbie, you guys go on these really unique places. Is it a refreshing thing? Do you get away from football, or can you even do that anymore?
What's great is the last two trips we've taken Reagan and Joe, my son-in-law, and my daughter, and we've taken Garrett, and he's got a very serious girlfriend that he met in Lincoln, Nebraska, Tara, and she went. And so it was a family deal. Debbie did say, could you get off your phone for 24 hours? I said, no, we can't, because we've got contracts being signed right now in RevShare, and I've got to be able to connect with James Blanchard and Antonio Huffman and Quentin Jordan. But it was fun. I would suggest going if you've never been. It's a great place.
Okay, this is going to sound like a weird question, but Landman with Billy Bob Thornton, they talk about Texas Tech in every episode. I don't know if you've had time to watch it.
Oh, yeah, I love it.
Okay, it's fantastic. It's Billy Bob at his best, as you know. How much does that, is that just a little nugget in the, getting the word out about, you've got a show that's not talking about Texas. Well, I mean, one of the characters is going to go play football for you, I guess.
No doubt.
But, that's just a cool thing where before they would have picked a different school, a different thing.
Yeah, it's really we had one of our big donors, Terry Fuller, actually consulted early in the show on that. I always laugh because John Sellers and Cody Campbell are good friends with Taylor Sheridan, and I think he combined the two to make Monty. But the young man, the son of Billy Bob, he's wearing the Texas Tech hat all the time. The engineer's got a Texas Tech tattoo that he goes sleeveless. We do have the quarterback committed, on that show.
The cheerleader coming with him.
Yeah, man, I think it's really good, and I've done it as a joke, and I do mean it as a joke. But when people say, how are you doing what you're doing? I say, oil money's real. Just go watch Landman.
Yeah.
And it really is. And it's been good.
Can we get you and Billy Bob in a room?
I think that'd be awesome, man.
Yeah.
I think it'd be awesome.
We still cover Central Texas, although not as much as we just do college in general. But a prominent Central Texan, Micah Hudson, back on your roster.
Yeah.
Can you just kind of get into where he is and just, I guess it's kind of been talked about him coming back, but just how important was that for you guys and for him to kind of get back together and try to create something special once again?
Yeah, that was really tough. Because I love my players, and I try to get to know these guys and try to find every why and everything that ticks. And man, I hated it. His mom really struggled with the decision, and whenever the portal opened in April, I called his mom and I said, "Hey, I'm going to reach out to Micah. I just wanted you to know that." And she said, "Coach, he's coming to talk to you face to face. You don't need to reach out to him." And the first thing that I said, and I said this, it was asked earlier, but I said, the first thing that I wanted to do was Micah was tell him where I felt like I failed him and made the mistakes that I made, and things that I could have done different. And he was so receptive. I think he had so much on his heart too to say to me, and it was a great conversation. Right now, Mike and I talk about, hey, just put your head down and just go to work, and everything's going to happen the way it's supposed to happen. I did say that he has a chance to write a really, really cool story and not only affect his life, but affect people that can come after him. Because I think the first thing he would tell you was he listened to people that were telling him what he wanted to hear versus what he needed to hear. And, as we all do as humans, make some decisions that we wish we wouldn't have. And it's been really good to have him back. I'm excited that he's back on our football team.
I think, there's so few of them, but to be a recruit at that high level, it can seem really easy. But you do have people in your ear, like you said. And then, being recruited is the most fun part of college football, right?
No doubt.
Because you get steak and lobster, and you get in, everybody's happy to see you. But day one, you got the shoulder pads on,
you got to go to work. Yeah.
And so a lot of kids aren't mature enough to handle that right away.
Yeah.
And so I think it's great that coaches, you have this, you have to build that relationship where you have to watch them fall on their face a little bit or make different decisions.
And I'm glad that we have the opportunity to, both of us, correct some of the things that we missed on, and then have a really, again, a chance to write the story together. I would have rooted for him either way, man. I wanted the kid to be so successful, and man, I am. I'm really happy that he's back at Texas Tech and is in a good space with head. Mentally, he's in a really good space.
I know you got to go. You got a flight to catch that's been moved up, by the way.
Oh.
Garrett, with you on the same staff, he lives 5 minutes from you. Is that what I was told? And if you don't mind, just to have him right there with you.
Yeah, it's incredible, man. I got to coach him in high school. Then he turns around and he was going to Texas, and he decides to go to a much better school in Baylor. And, and I had him for 8 years, and then he goes off with Coach Rule to Carolina, and then he goes to Nebraska. And, man, that was really hard because it's like he's your son, but he's also like your best friend whenever it comes to the football world and the way his mind thinks and the things that he can tell you that you don't see, and he really knows you. So that has been huge to get him back. He and Mac Leftwich have become so close, and that's been cool. And I think that happens because they're coaches' kids. They're both very like-minded. I'm excited that Garrett gets learned from Mac and learns that offense, and it's been fun. And I'm going to tell you right now, Debbie McGuire is really, really happy that her baby is back in the same town.
Yeah.
You know, that was big. She even said, you promised me you're going to bring one of them home. You said you're going to bring both. And sometime Reagan, whenever she's at the level that she has her own label, she'll be back in the state of Texas. But it's really neat to have him on the staff. And it's going to be a huge help for us because he does know me better than anybody else whenever it comes to coaching, and can say some things to me that I know where it's coming from that I'll probably accept a little bit different than from other people.
Tell him we said hi.
I will.
Thank you. Great to see you,
Thank
Joey.
you, guys.
Good luck. Thank you.
All righty.
Joey McGuire, football coach, head coach at Texas Tech in Frisco on 365 Sports.
How did Edward Jones become one of the biggest financial service companies in the world? By not acting that way. Financial strategies, one-on-one advice, it's a big difference. And that's why Brad Wilson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, makes sense of investing. Experience the difference for yourself. Brad Wilson, 250 Sharon Drive in Woodway, 254-776-4337. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Pizza, burgers, and Bears football. There's no place around Waco that serves them all other than Bubba's 33. Come show your green and gold and enjoy some of Waco's best food and beverages while watching your favorite team, the Bears. When real Bears fans get hungry, Bubba's 33 is the #1 spot for ice-cold drinks, hand-stretched, stone-baked pizzas, and bacon-infused burgers. Join us for indoor or patio dining. Bubba's 33, Waco's restaurant and proud supporter of Baylor Bears football. Sick 'em, Bears.
Do you or your kids get nervous about going to the dentist? Stonewood Dental, Dr. Steve Childress, he can help.
I've spent a career taking care of patients who as children had bad experiences, and now they're adults that hate going to the dentist. If I get a kid at 3 years old and they come every 6 months and it's a happy experience, it's normal for them. Now they have an accident at 6 or 7 or 8 at school. Now they have a broken tooth or a trauma, and they have to come here. They're used to lights, they're used to water in their mouth, they're used to experience, they already trust us. It's amazing what we can do with that kid without it being a negative thing. But if I see a 6 or 7 or 8 year old that's never been to the dentist, and now they have a trauma or an unfortunate unexpected toothache, it's harder to do that for that kid and it not be somewhat of a negative experience. So bottom line is I try to teach kids and adults and teenagers, everybody, the way I'd want my family treated, which is where it's a necessary part of life. You just take care of it. It doesn't have to be that big a deal.
Learn more, stonewood-dental.com.
1, 2.
I'm in love with a man named Rudy. I'm okay with that. He knows exactly what I want. He keeps me coming back. He cooks breakfast, lunch, and dinner for me. Does the dishes too. I'm in love with a man named Rudy, last name Barbecue. It sure is easy to fall in love with Rudy's tasty oak smoked barbecue.
Next in line.
This is 365 Sports.
The 5 o'clock hour is sponsored by Edward Jones Investments with financial advisor Brad Wilson. Investing his time and experience back to you and your money during today's changing times. Edward Jones, making sense of investing.
Now here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
Our football coach Dave Aranda, Big 12 Media Days in Frisco with us, 365 Sports. We'll start with what you were discussing with us at the beginning. You were down in the Austin area.
Yeah.
Is that right? During what became the tragedy over the weekend in Texas with the flooding, and you kind of experienced a little bit of the high rising waters.
Yeah, so sad. I think as a parent, you can't, it's the worst nightmare. And so it's beyond heartbreak. I can't, I can think of, I think what happens is, what I go through is when I hear something like that, I think immediately of my kids and when they were going to camp and how the lead up of months into the camp, how they were excited for the camp. And then the drop-off's kind of scary, but then they're excited and then you hear back that it's going good. And so oh my God, I can't even imagine. So you go through that. And then for me, then I go to this little girl and you find out about her family and then you hear all the stories and it's, and so it's beyond heartbreaking. Yeah.
Puts things in perspective.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. It's, I don't have the words for it. Yeah. I cried, my wife and I, we're pinned in with all the rain. And so we're just following the thing and just not believing what we're seeing. Yeah.
Well, appreciate you sharing all that because that's what it's all about. That's real life. Football games, wins and losses. But we're here with Big 12 Media Days, and Baylor's on the uptick. It appears that way. Are you on the uptick? Do you feel that, and have you felt that in the offseason?
We have got a hungry team, and we're a hard-working team. It's a talented team. There's more depth on this team since I've been at Baylor, and so I think those things are positive things, and those are things to build off of. We need to be more consistent, and we need to be more disciplined. Those are things that hurt us in the last game of the year, and those are things that are going to have to be at their best to be able to win the first game of this year. And so those are things we're working on. To me, it's like, are we finishing through the line? Is everyone making their weight? Is everyone early? Everyone showing up on time? Hey, if someone's not, do we have a player that's taking control and holding that kid accountable and showing them like this is not how we do stuff here? There's been more player-led leadership this team than we've ever had. And guys like Sawyer that's got out of their comfort zone, KT and Devin Bobby, a couple guys were here. We had a couple freshmen last week that were out of line in just terms of missing stuff, and they pulled them aside and got into them, and I had Vic Gloria tell me this. And so like all of that, like we're celebrating when I heard that, because it's like, we've been working for this for a long time. And I think, our best players are our best people. And so they fully get it, and they know that it's more than just them, and they're leading from that space. And so it's been good so far.
You can play good cop then too as the coaching staff, because the players will be the heavies. Just talking to a couple of the guys, there seems to be, there was a confidence last year because they knew that they could be good.
Yeah.
But now it's not could, that they know that they are good, that they are good players, that they can win in the league and they can do those things.
Right.
Can you see that approach differently as opposed to we think we know, but we don't know?
Right. Even when, there is the coulda, shoulda wins and it's the bye week. And, I'm sure there was a point, I think it was the Tech game. We're at the hotel and I'm coming down. We had, there's people that travel with you. I'm, I think it's Saturday. It's the day of the game. And I come down for breakfast and the team's there. And I go to shake hands with one of these people, and like their eyes go down, as they shake my hand. And so, I can sense, I kind of feel that this is what it is right now, But I think the players all stayed together because they knew they were good. They knew it, and they knew that there was talent. Because whether it's shown up in this scrimmage or that play or whatever else, or that phase of the game or that quarter or that half, now that all that's happened and that it's been established that they're good, that they can do this, it's such a grounded confidence, so different, yeah. And so I think what happens then is there's dudes that, because that was shown, there's guys that want to come and play with those guys, and so we're able to get that with transfer portal guys, and then the high school commits that aren't going to play with them, but they're hopping on all because of that. So it's been a good thing.
How do you go about just addressing the focus, all the articles on Sawyer and his NFL future and all of the expectations that you guys now believe you're going to be pretty good? Do you address that? Just kind of how do you balance the outside noise with the inside talk?
Yeah. So anytime that I'm in front of talking to the team, I never really mention like being good, or I never mention expectations. I'll always bring up, hey, we've got to do this better. Here's something that happened that is a minor thing now. I was talking with Kalani, and I was talking during the spring with Sonny Dykes, and it's, when you do enough of the little things the right way, and you have such a hyper sensitivity to getting little things done, then what happens is it can happen. It happened to us in 21. TCU in 22, and then last year Kalani was saying this, is that all the big things kind of can happen easy, and it's like you're going uphill and then all of a sudden there's a turn where you're going downhill and stuff just happens for you, and it's just one thing after the next, and it was so hard to make this play, and now you're making them all the time. And so I think that starts with the little things and the accountability, that for the stuff that happened and I'm not there, but there's still an accountability that we're holding this standard. I think that's such a key. So when I'm in front of the team, I talk that way. When with Sawyer, I saw there's something. If I see anything that's got Baylor, I scroll right away. So, but I can sense if something's good, and so I will go, not knowing totally what it's about. I will go to the guys that it's about and go, hey man, how was yesterday? What could we do better? I'll always go from that side of it. There's something with Sawyer, like is it like a girlfriend, or is he? He's like a single bachelor or something. I don't know if you guys saw that. I was giving him so much crap about that yesterday. Yeah. So I try to build the stuff I see. I try to get out of it quick, but I'll take it and try to work it from the other side.
I would think as a head coach, is there anything better, or a coach, anything better than when the light switch comes on a football team, a player, walk on or 4-star, 5-star? And that kind of happened mid-season last year.
It's difficult to get there, and I wish there could be I wish there would be an easier path to get it there. But when it does get there, it's I don't know. It's I'll listen to like a great piece of music or something, and I'll go like, man, that sounds. They're making it look so easy. You almost feel like you could do that, or you could be a part of that. But it's the same thing with ball. Like, here's a play, but there's so much that goes into that play. There's so much in that situation and that player's confidence to achieve in that, and the nonverbal that goes on, and the reading of the key that came up, and however many hours of study with the safety when he capped the linebacker, and just all these things, and then it plays out. That's the beauty of the game. But it's like, to get it to where it just kind of was like a flow is such a cool thing. I agree with you. It's one of the best things. And so, there's been Big 12 teams that have got it, and they've come from the back to the front to do it. And so, we're hoping that we can get that vibe or that flow going this year.
One of the things, and we talked about it a little bit earlier, but when the light did come on for you guys and all of that, you had talked about, the woulda, coulda, shoulda wins. Most of the time, you guys are in the minority. Most of the time, those things happen over more than one season. It kind of cracks a team, even if everybody likes each other, even if everybody believes in the staff and the players. But it never did. I mean, it never did. And that is so rare. And I do think it's a credit to you and the staff that the team picked up on it and never gave up, because that's a really hard thing to achieve.
No, I appreciate that. I thought that, prior to that Tech game, we had Michael Allen speak to the team. And Mike talked about that, I thought, in his talk to the team that Friday night. He said that, hey, this game's important. If this game doesn't go right, it can get bad, and we don't want it to get bad. Everybody here is invested here, and we want this to work, and I know it can work. And so we need the best of all of you. And, and I think, moving forward for this year, I think like the steps or areas of growth would be like a Michael Trigg last year could be, hey, here's a half, or here's a quarter, or here's a game where he just shows out and is this Jackie Marshall who's here today. Here's a series, here's a quarter, here's a half. We need those boys to be full game, all game, every game. That's the difference. That's the steps that they need to take. And I think like to build the confidence of those boys that they've done it, and here's what it takes. And it takes like, if when the moment comes to be great, if you've never pushed yourself to be great, then I don't know if you can be great just in that moment when it shows up. You have to, there has to be a layering of just sacrifice and effort and detail and focus. And I sense it with those guys right now. And so that's a positive thing.
So we were talking to Keaton Thomas a little while earlier. He was discussing how much he loves just kind of soaking up everything he can from you. How much fun do you have when you have a guy that's so receptive and so open to learning any and everything he possibly can, and just kind of that teacher-student sort of bond and over love of football?
He is full go, and so he's been such a blessing to the defense, because we've got guys now that want to be like him, and they're pushing themselves to study as much as he studies and to work as much as he works. There's countless times it's difficult to practice because KT's losing his mind. So we have to be able to bring that down a little bit. We were talking at dinner last night where he had talked about how he got in trouble at I went to a Catholic school, elementary school, and so I remember like rulers and all this other thing. If people got in trouble, and he was saying he had something. There was something that he had that he got in trouble. I go, was it at recess? Was it? Were you out in recess? And he said no. But I could so much see it that's the case because he gets so wired. And so I think like his drive, especially the young linebackers that we got, that they're all following him. They all want to be like him, and there's no one better to try to be than him.
You and I have that shared experience. I went to Catholic my whole life before college.
Yeah,
and,
Sacred Heart.
It does it's a weird thing, a number that it does on you. Of I remember like hearing people say that like. Yeah, I told this teacher to do this. I'm like, not in my school. No. No.
The ruler.
Yeah.
I would think that the best thing as a head coach is when you know your team's pretty good and they perform that way, but it's steady. Like you always talk about just the 2-7, and then the best year in Baylor history. And then the next year things fell apart. And then, of course, 23 was a struggle. But then last year you ended. I mean, it's like this. Does that keep you up at night?
No, I think prior to I think those early years, it's just it's almost a different program in a way.
Yeah,
it's just
different
so
sport,
different.
isn't it?
Yeah,
in some ways.
Yeah, I was so even after the 21 season, we had such great kids that our best players were our best people for that team. And so we had guys that were maturity-wise, they were kind of younger. They were not at the level they probably needed to be. And I was way invested in that. I'm probably too invested. I spent too much time there. And I should have spent more time trying to win games in football. And, I think what the hard truth with that is in order to win games and do football, you have to kind of help them kind of mature, but then you kind of have to be, you got to get them to the games. And I didn't do that. I was more about, you're going to get this done. You're going to do all that. So that's a huge difference. That's a huge difference from where we are right now, where it's, all the growth part and like the developmental part. And we've got guys right now that, struggled in this area of their life or that area, and then have grown up and, are almost like they're reborn. They're new people. And that to me is the coolest part of this whole thing. But you almost have to, I don't think it's a sacrifice, but that arrow goes against winning sometimes. Those arrows point like that. And so that's been the biggest change with the program, is that we're able to try to balance both of those, where I think in the past it wasn't.
Yeah, it's, you got to shove the baby bird out of the nest a little bit, right? Like, and you're on your own. You guys open up with Auburn this year, which I've been here a long time in Waco. Smokey's been here a long time. There has never been a non-conference opponent like that. And I'm not trying to oversell the moment or anything, but it is such a big deal that, like, I think for the fans, can you feel that excitement of this is a great opportunity to showcase Baylor, to showcase that, and reward the fans who, for every year that we've been doing a radio show together, they've been asking, can we play a team like this that people know?
Right. I think it's a positive thing, and I think it's something we want to try to continue, is play teams early in the season with good opponents that people want to see, that can have some type of outcome towards the end of the season. And I think, say you go and you play well and you win, it sets you off. Say you play well, but you don't get a win, there's still an opportunity to come back and have a great season. But I think it gives you a chance to know where you're at, where you got to work on, and all these other things. And I like that setup. I haven't talked that much about it with the team. They fully know. And I think the player-led leadership and just the urgency that they have, I think, is being pushed a lot of ways from, they know what the first game is.
Frank, last question.
Y'all taking a big chunk out in that non-conference, huh? I mean, couple of doozies there potentially for you. A couple great measuring sticks for sure.
Yes, yeah. There's, you look across just the league, you get into the Big 12, and it's like every team's got a quarterback that overachieves, and you've got probably the most in terms of schematics, probably the most innovative and kind of gotcha schemes is in this league. You know, there was a quote I remember with Art Briles. It would be like, I'm not trying to get a first down, I'm trying to get a touchdown. And that's the Big 12, and that's different from some other leagues where they won't call that play because it could go bad, whereas here they just let it rip and it goes. And so you got to defend that for however long, and then the analytics gives you 4 downs to do all that. And so I just think it's in this league, it's so competitive. But I think the ability to play other people outside, right? You're able to sharpen your sword, and you're able to know, hey, these are things that were good, these are things we got to improve. Because I think we've all seen that you can make corrections and changes and improvements during the season. And I feel like to know early as opposed to hold your cards and find out late, I'd rather do it early.
We'll see you at fall camp.
Yeah.
Enjoy the rest of the summer. Thank you,
Dave.
Guys.
Appreciate
Coach
it.
Dave Aranda with us on 365 Sports.
Overwhelmed by your inbox? Clean Email is here to help. Organize, clean, and manage your emails with powerful automation tools. Say goodbye to spam and clutter and enjoy a stress-free inbox. Try Clean Email today at cleanemail.com. That's CLEAN email.com. Founded in 1910, Samsonite is the world leader in durable, high-quality luggage and travel accessories. Made to the highest standards, our products won't let you down. We give you the confidence to get out there and explore. Inspired by the past, devoted to the present, and built to inspire a multi-generational future, Samsonite is here to elevate your journey. Travel with Samsonite and pack confidence every step of the way. Shop now at shop.samsonite.com. Samsonite.
This is Paul Catalina's Top 5.
Welcome in. This is me from back in the studio. But current me is at Big 12 Media Days. So I am not watching this because I don't want a Marty McFly type situation. I don't want myself to disappear in a photograph. You understand. But we'll continue through our Big 12 transfer newcomers. And of course, we're brought to you by Flag and Anthem. Go to flagandanthem.com. Our promo code is 365 Sports. If you can't remember that, please see a doctor. We're talking Horned Frogs today. Number 5, Joseph Manjack was one of the top receivers at Houston the last couple of years. If you'll remember, he caught a Hail Mary at the end of a game to win it a couple of years ago. A big, tall guy, long and rangy, helps replace Savion Williams and some of the other guys they've lost to the receiver position. I really like this fit for Sonny Dykes, and that offense should do very, very well. Number 4, running back Kavorian Barnes comes in from UTSA. A little drop-off last year because of some injuries, but regularly consistent as the number 2 back and number 1A back for them the last few years. Learned a lot from Jeff Traylor's system. Now steps into the Big 12 with a lot on his shoulders. TCU's running game was not good a year ago. So much so they had to put the aforementioned Savion Williams back in the Wildcat a lot to move the ball on the ground. Kavorian Barnes, the responsibilities on his shoulders and several others to get that going again. Number 3, defensive lineman Ansel Den Mbua comes in from Wazoo. They had a mass exodus. Of course, Jake Dickert left, so you're going to see a lot of players leave. Very athletic dude, as you can see him jumping up for this picture there. I don't know what skill that necessarily equates to as a pass rusher, but I'm impressed nonetheless. He needs to get after the passer. This is something, like I said, everybody wants, everybody needs, everybody desires. It's important. But you'll hear his name a lot because he will step in and play right away for the Horned Frogs. Number 2, tight end Kamorian Pimpton. Kind of blocked by Mason Taylor and some of the younger players at LSU. Garrett, I think, thinks he should have stayed because he would have fit in well this year, but wants to be the number 1 tight end. Is more of a – he's a lot leaner and longer maybe even than Mason Taylor, even though Mason Taylor is a big dude. He's kind of a – would you call him like a tweener, Garrett?
Yeah, I'll call him a tweener. He's a basketball player skill set. Yeah, I mean, he looks exactly like a basketball. He's a tweener.
Yeah, he's a basketball player. They're going to throw it to him in the red zone. That's going to be a key thing. Josh Hoover is going to love Kamorian Pimpton. And number 1, wide receiver Jordan Dreyer comes in from Idaho. This guy is a receptions machine. He will catch a ton of passes. Every quarterback loves to have a guy that they can throw the ball to 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 times a game. He will have games like that in this offense for Kendall Briles, where they will throw him short passes, long passes, intermediate. They will use him all over the formation, all over the field. He is a perfect fit for the Briles offense under Sonny Dykes. I'm telling you, I've seen guys like Jordan Dreyer 4 years in that offense flourish and explode. He comes in again from the FCS, but should be a very, very welcome addition to the Horned Frogs. That's going to do it for us. Smokey, wrap it up. I'm sure we have some polls, even though we're in Frisco.
All right. Thank you, Paul. Recorded that what? Earlier? Friday?
Yeah, I think so.
So my YouTube channel, well, hold on. Maybe it went out. So I reboot. Here we are. I'm right here. Okay, good. We got the polls. Andrew Valade put up the polls from earlier today. And so what we do after the top 5 to wrap up the show, we look at the results, and here is one. Who's your pick for Big 12's best returning quarterback? Now, this poll is good, but it had to leave some people out. Avery Johnson, among others. But the winner, Sam Levitt, 43%, 300-plus votes. Robertson, 36%. Rocco Beck, 16%, and Josh Hoover at 5%.
Yeah, I mean, you're right that there's options. I mean, you could make 8 or 9 or 10 options on that list, quite frankly, but no surprise that Sam Levitt's the overwhelming favorite, maybe a bit more overwhelming than I've expected, but he's got the goods and he's got the mojo and he's got all the talk right now. So I think a lot of people expecting a massive year from him and first round pick in the draft and all that comes with that. So yeah, I think he's a hot name, and man, there's so many interesting storylines, but that one right there is a very interesting one given how successful and surprising they were last season. Now it's like no surprises and now no scattaboo, and it's all on you and you're getting nothing but hype. And so if he lives up to the billing, then yeah, he's going to be going in the first round of the NFL draft probably pretty highly.
I know one thing I'd love to throw to Jordan Tyson. I saw him as he walked by us and hung around. Hey, that's a dude. Now that's a
Faith
body.
interviewed him today, so
I know Faith Lynch has been right in the middle of it. We'll get to all the people who helped us today because there's a whole bunch of them. The other poll that King Jiu-Jitsu put up from earlier today, let's look at those results. And it is, which of these teams is your out-of-nowhere Big 12 breakout for this season? Baylor, 56%, than BYU. That wouldn't be a breakout. TCU, probably. Utah, absolutely. That's the 500 votes today, with Baylor 56% than BYU, TCU, Utah.
All right, yeah, I wouldn't know that those teams finished strong. I was, but I do think that's BYU might feel a little out of nowhere given the fact that their starting quarterback's no longer with the team in July.
But it wouldn't be a breakout.
Yeah, or it'd be more of a repeat thing. But Utah would be a breakout.
No question. To me, it would be Utah, Oklahoma State.
Yeah.
So
Houston.
the teams that finished at the bottom last year.
Yeah.
That's on the Arizona State scale.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, absolutely.
Arizona would be a breakout school. That would be breaking out. But yeah, I mean, I think you probably could word it a little bit differently. Maybe they're not so much breakout candidates, but definitely Utah would be. Certainly in their 1 year history of being in the Big 12, anything that they could do to add some more wins on would definitely be a breakout compared to the misery that was last season. So, yeah, I think they're a very strong candidate. That's a solid choice. I think there's, you could go other ways potentially, but that's a very strong choice to be a breakout.
So there are two coaches we got recorded, Galati Sataki and also Scott Satterfield that we did not use today. So that's on the tap for probably tomorrow. However, it all depends, but tomorrow's going to be more of a challenge. Gundy, we know how he does mainly local.
If we actually get Gundy, I'll faint.
All right. If we get him, I'm going to tell him you said that.
This is our 15th consecutive Big 12 media days, you and me, or 14th. We have never gotten Gundy.
No, it's been a toner like a long time ago.
When you really think about it, it's pretty ridiculous.
Yeah,
He should have done an interview at some point. I mean, he's not. I mean, Saban would have done an interview by now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's kind of crazy to me, but oh well.
That's a great point.
He has never laid eyes on us. Mike Gundy has never
I've seen him stare at us a couple of times.
He's never, he doesn't know,
That's when we got to go to Robert Allen and say, listen, you are tight. You're a homer.
Yeah.
He's told you that you're a homer. You need to get him locked in with us.
Use your sway.
I know we're supposed to get Leipold, Dykes, and Fritz. Dion, I don't know. It'd be just good to see him, right? Brent Brennan, we just had him recently, so I didn't request him. So out of the 7, one's off the table, most likely either 2 of them, Gundy and Dion. So that's 5 of the 8 because we had Brennan within the last couple of weeks or so.
If Dion,
Rich Rod will be interesting.
So we getting him or we don't know yet?
We'll see.
If Dion was the head coach at Colorado for 15 years, do you think he would have done one interview by now?
Yes.
Yeah, I do too.
I think so.
We've had Dion 2 times on our show.
At Super Bowl Radio
Row.
Do you know who could get him on? Eric Horton.
Yeah.
Because Dion's wife is in love with Tyler Candles.
Well, where the hell is Eric?
I need to text Eric. All right. So there we are. So we also have AD John Cunningham, who we have a recorded interview with. We have players, including Alford, the defensive back from Arizona State, who was great. So we got more coming tomorrow. So we will be back tomorrow. Thanks to a lot of people. Emery Winter. Thanks to Andrew Valade. Thanks to Brandon Rowe. Faith Lynch was fantastic. Bracket Cat in the back goes, hey, is that Faith Lynch in the background? Yeah. And yes, it is, Bracket Cat. Leave her alone. And then also Paul Catalina, Craig Smoak, Garrett Ross. We had Corey Dickman here. John Valade was here. Dave Evans was here.
Yeah.
Eric Fernandez was here. My God.
And a super duper secret special guest was here.
Yeah, he was here too.
He's clandestine.
So we'll be back tomorrow, 365 Sports Tonight on the local CW at 10:30. Thank you for your time. Hope you enjoyed the show. Hello, Kevin Simon.
What's up, Kevin Simon? Hit that subscribe button if you haven't hit it already.
That's exactly right.
It's the greatest thing you could do for us as we branch out and get ready for the season starting up here. Please do us a solid and hit that subscribe button.
And we apologize for you having to look at Bill Coates as he walked by.
BYU wide receiver Jake Roberts also. Over the next day or two, we'll have him.
Chase
him too. Yeah. Jake Roberts was the wrestler.
Yes, he was.
And A1.
Yeah.
Yes.
Gotta go.
This is 365 Sports.